Say that one more time, Ms. Michaela.
Put a picture with it.
Put a
like
picture with
A
it.
for apple.
A for apple. Have you ever seen them glue some Cheerios on an A? What do children learn from gluing Cheerios on an A?
Texture.
Maybe of the Cheerios. Right. So think about that. Children, infants and toddlers especially, learn nothing from activities like that. But what about a preschool child? Can you adapt something like this for a preschool child, and if so, how?
With the Cheerios.
Trace it.
I was gonna say.
In a
like-
writing center, they could trace an A. Yeah.
Or you can do like in the sensory area, you can have the A, like the sand with the A under it, and then they could try to. find A.
Sandpaper. Okay.
With-
So-
with the
Yeah, you could
Cheerios
do the, somebody
everywhere?
said put Play-Doh over here,
No.
like take the
Okay.
Play-Doh and make the A out of the Play-Doh.
They can make the Play-Doh.
I heard it back that way.
And they could match it onto the A. Yes, that definitely makes that more active learning. But if you just give a child a piece of construction paper with a letter on it and one crayon and tell them to color it, and they're coloring it, there's no learning in that. There's motor development, let me take that back. There's motor development in the coloring, yes.
So why can you use the Play-Doh and you don't like the Cheerios? What's the difference?
Because the Play-Doh, you're actually forming the letter differently than you are just
They have to
tracing.
manipulate
You're
the
just,
Play-Doh.
yeah, then you're just tacking it, gluing it onto the A.
Okay.
Okay, but now if you were, Miss Michaela said you could add a picture of an apple on there. So if you added, so let's say you showed children this picture. What could they learn from this picture? Sounds?
I don't like sounding it out.
Numbers.
That it's an apple. And then you could add on an A. Apples start with A.
Counting.
Yeah, if you're showing them those pictures of those apples, they could count the apples. But could the children tell the texture of the apples from
No.
the picture?
Not from
No.
the picture, unless they touched an apple, then they might can tell you.
So there is just a picture of apples. So from the picture of the apples, what do you think they can learn? That those are apples,
And they come in different colors.
that they come in different colors, that those are red, yellow, green apples.
So that's basically it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what if you added in a real apple?
They can get the texture, the taste, the smell of it. They can like do other things with it.
Right. So which is more actively engaged in the learning? Which?
Real apple.
The real apple. So when you're giving children activities to do, you want to give them something that they can manipulate. Whether it is, like, Adrian, pull those unit cubes from behind you. So giving them a brightly colored container of unit cubes, let's say you're in a preschool classroom, and you're having them stack the purple ones, you're having them stack the green ones, you're having them count, once they've stacked them, then they're counting them. How much more concrete is that than just counting? Because then they're getting colors, they're sorting them, they're stacking them, and they're counting them. Mhm.
I'm about to make it.
So when you're thinking active engagement, you want to give them things that they tangibly touch. Because you said children move from abstract to concrete, right? So you don't want to give them abstract things for them to learn from. And children will rote memorize anything that you give them to do. Now, do we want them to count? Absolutely we do. Do we want them to say their ABCs? Absolutely we do. But we want to move them from just saying them to recognizing them concretely. We want to move them from just counting to recognizing what a number 2 looks like concretely, and knowing that if I have 2 bears there, those 2 counting bears, that's 2. So that gives them numeracy. So when you're putting displays up in your room, you want to have some, in your classroom, you want to have the number, you want to have the word of the number, and then you want to have 2 objects, the number of objects that match that number. So then that makes it concrete for them. Same with shapes. give them a piece of pizza for a triangle. Give them something that's going to make it concrete for them. So many times we want to keep it abstract, and we want to, so a lot of times I observe classrooms where they're having 3-year-olds count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50.
Wow.
What are those children getting out of that? Nothing but that they've memorized that sequence. And that's okay, but if you really want them to have the understanding, give them some counters and have them counting concretely. Don't make it so that they're just rote memorizing things. Because they can rote memorize anything that you give them to. Brown bear, brown bear. If you've read it 100 times, they can rote memorize anything. And that's okay, but that's not the real understanding of their learning. We don't want to mistake the rote memorization for the, oh, they can read. No, they can't. Right. Yeah.
That's just like when Christian was going into high school, he could play anything you wanted him to play, but he couldn't read music.
Yeah.
So he had to go back and take a whole class for reading music.
Yeah.
So that's what that rote, what you call
The
it?
rote memorization.
Okay.
Yeah. They
It
can.
had a name.
Yeah. They can memorize anything, but you want them to be able to understand it. So we want to give them the foundation so that learning it, we talked about learning being cumulative, right? So if, let's say they start out in a 1-year-old room and they're counting in a 1-year-old room, so then when they get to the 2-year-olds, well then they maybe start cognitively counting 2 objects if they can, 3 objects if they can, once they're verbal. And so then when they get to the 3-year-old room, then maybe they can start recognizing a number 2 if we've given them the foundation.
Right.
So we have to give them the foundation so that then it can continue to build. And you're building on their prior knowledge, right? You're adding new knowledge, but you're building on their prior knowledge? Right, yes. So when we are actively learning in our center time, because we talked about our schedules and having blocks of center time on our schedules, right? So if you're in your block of your center time, should all the children be sitting at the same table doing the same thing? No, that's not center time. That's one large group.
Right.
And center time is children in each learning center doing activities.
Right.
Different activities at the same time. So, we just talked about the active learning. So they learn so much more from exploring their materials. That's what they need to do. Explore their materials on their own rather than us showing and telling them something. That's why we like to have you guys have a lot of activities for yourselves so you guys can build your knowledge related to what the information that you've been given to. That constructivism, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
So, when you're in your learning center time, what is considered a small group for an infant toddler? Well, infants are individualized anyway, but for a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, what's a small group?
Like how many?
Yes,
Like
how many?
maybe 3, 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 is perfect. So what about a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old classroom? What's considered small group size for them?
Maybe 5, 6.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And so you want to, when you're using small groups in your center time, you have less behavior issues because the children are engaged. And then it gives the teachers an opportunity to do some one-on-one with the children while they're there. So there could be a teacher in the art center doing art with the small group, and then there could be another teacher visiting the other centers, having conversation, more than just direction. I'll put that back, don't hit your friend. Maybe it's, oh, tell me about what you're building. Oh my gosh, this looks so amazing. And then they start telling you about the princess castle and who lives there, and that's more of a learning experience than not having any, that learning, you want the child to expand on what they're doing, and that builds their curiosity as well. It's also easier and less stressful for you all as a teacher when you're teaching in small groups, because you're not trying to direct the whole group when everybody finishes at the same time.
Right.
And that's difficult. But then when they finish in learning center time, they can move. They don't have to stay with you. They've done the activity, they can go on. So large groups, what should you do in large groups? Should there be any activities that are in large groups? And that's not a trick question. It was-
Yeah, you can do
Singing songs?
Say that again, Kim?
Like singing?
Yeah, music and movement.
movement.
If you do a morning circle time, morning meeting, whatever you call that, yeah,
Read a story.
yeah,
you can read a story. You
story
can-
reads.
You can talk about the weather.
yeah,
That's the time where you usually do your jobs.
yeah.
You do jobs.
You could also, like if you're gonna play a game like musical chairs or duck, duck,
I
goose.
didn't say that one.
Something like that.
I
Any
play
kind,
that.
like if you're outdoors and you're doing a fitness thing you want to do as a large group.
You can do the exercise.
Yes, but you want to limit your large groups. So if you've got your morning meeting, you don't want to send them to another large group after.
Oh, definitely
You
not.
want to let them move around, especially if they've sat for
Can you
5
repeat
minutes or
that?
so.
I was writing.
So if you are doing a large group, then, and let's say they were sitting during that morning meeting, you don't want to move them, transition them to another large group.
Oh,
You want
okay.
to transition them out to like a center time or something
okay.
where they can move around.
Okay.
Want to keep them, because what happens when they sit too long?
They start
Touching. Touching everything.
Yes. And then they start touching their friends.
They start
And
touching.
especially, don't let them sit too close. Try to put them all at the same table. Spread them out. You don't have to have them at the same table. If you've got 10, have 5 at one table, 5 at another table. If you've got 15, 8 and 7. However, and it doesn't matter that the table seats 10. That's okay. You don't have to put 10 there.
Right.
Because 10 toddlers sitting at the same table,
Touching.
they're touching, they're hitting, and then the next thing you know, they're biting.
That's the first thing I think of is touching.
And then there, especially if it's mealtime and the teacher is trying to serve the plates to the toddlers and she's not fast enough.
Oh, I'm taking the bread.
According to quality
Touching and
rating,
taking.
what is the maximum amount of wait time?
2 minutes.
3.
3.
Children should not wait over 3 minutes for anything. Meals, activities, whatever it is, they should not wait.
Is
more than
that
3
why,
minutes.
like, when you're transitioning from like the bathroom to the table, is that why it's nice to do like activities at the table, like singing songs and doing all kind of things, so they're not just sitting there actively sitting. They're just not just sitting.
Oh, okay.
Ding, 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 ding. Prize. Yes.
So like a
That's
large
exactly
group
right.
setting while you probably doing the bathroom and everything, you could do like, if you're happy and you know it, like a large group thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's say you're waiting to go line up to go outside and kids are gathering their coats. Have a teacher standing there singing with them, doing Simon Says, or if you're happy and you know
about
it,
that one.
or the ants go marching, getting ready to go outside. Whatever that is, but don't keep them waiting too long, because children don't know how, I mean, it's unrealistic to expect them to line up with, I always say hips and lips. That's what they do though. They can't do that. That's not developmentally appropriate for them. Have them hop to the door, or have them, have them do fun stuff. That keeps them busy. So your large group activities, if you're in a toddler classroom, it should be no more than 5 or 10 minutes. 10's really pushing it, unless it's really engaging. In your older groups, it should be no more than 10 to 15, and 15 may be pushing it depending on your group. Okay. So if we're thinking about small group, large group, what's the best way to teach the alphabet?
Not the song.
Not, well, you can do song as one way to do it. But what are other ways to teach? How can you teach it? How can you teach, let me say, toddlers about the alphabet?
Reading a book?
Yeah, reading a book. They make alphabet books. Chicka chicka boom
You do
boom.
something like their letter and then their face, like
Yeah.
A is for Adria, and then there's A, and then there's a picture of Adria. Or,
Yeah, absolutely. Having letters displayed in your classroom, of course. Pictures associated with the posters, real pictures, not cartoon pictures, real pictures. What else?
You said toddlers?
Toddlers. and you're doing introduction, because a lot of teachers, if we are thinking about building a foundation, what is age appropriate for toddlers, if you think about?
Would giving them the item that it starts with, like giving them an apple and say, this is an apple and apple is A, and then do all the things that go with that letter?
You can, yeah. Because you're giving them, you're introducing them. So if you're giving them an apple, you can say, apple starts with the letter A. And then they'll start to associate apples and A. And then give them other things that start with the
We
A.
need to do airplane. We always
Airplane.
do for apple.
Yeah, airplane. Airplane.
Depends on the person, because I've seen some people do airplanes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I was
depends on
looking
the
at something and it was like, how come we always associate A with apple?
Or be with ball.
Yeah. Well, and, yeah, and maybe you create a little poster that's the letter A with lots of different pictures that A starts with. B with lots of different pictures of what starts with B. Because then you're introducing. That's what we want to do, is introduce. So then once they get to 3 and 4 year olds, what do you do?
Then do you have them identified or them
Yeah.
teach you or show their knowledge
Right.
and that they know?
Yeah.
Maybe like asking them what in the room starts with A.
Yes.
Do you have anything at your table that starts with B?
Yeah, and even starting, like having their whole name and having them sign in their name, like all kinds of things that are with the, giving them letters with the Play-Doh, giving them all kinds of multiple ways for them, putting your magnetic letters in the sensory table in the sand and having them find the letter A, or in paper shreds or whatever, and have them pull it out and find the letter A. So just helping them to connect the recognition with the letter. So what about teaching numbers and counting? How can you do that?
Singing songs. I always go back to like
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah,
Yeah, then you can use the fingers.
yeah, fingers. Anything with counting, like unit cubes, teddy bear counters, insect counters. Now you can just buy
When you can use those Cheerios.
Cheerios and let them eat them as you're counting them. But give them something concrete for them to equate with the number. And there's lots of different materials for teaching numbers, and you want to have, like in a 3-year-old classroom, you want to have calculators, you want to have cash registers, rulers, money, all of that also equates with numbers and counting. Shapes.
Cubes.
Say that again.
For teaching shapes, cubes. It depends on the shape.
Yeah.
Like you said, pizza
Circles.
for the triangle. You can do boxes for square.
Yeah.
Or even rectangle. You can do the ball for the circle.
Yeah, however you can make that connection. Yep, but also having things labeled in your classroom. Yeah. Seasons of the year.
Going outside.
We're in crazy seasons right now, yes?
Map,
Yeah, for older children.
pre-K.
Pictures of the weather, yeah.
But real pictures.
You can even do clothing.
Yeah, for younger children, clothing.
Clothing, okay.
Clothing, and how does it feel outside? Is it cold? Is it warm? What is, when it's, you know,
Because it's funny, because like living here and being from somewhere else, like winter here is fall up north.
Like I'm dressed right now.
So like
It's not cold to me. It's like negative up there right now.
like doing our celebrations, and then like when I was talking in learning spaces about doing the celebrations, and I was like, this time of year when I do celebrations from where I'm from, I have snow. So that's why I introduce snow to my learning spaces, because when I celebrate the holidays, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, I have snow.
yeah.
And so some of the children, they were like, we never played with snow. And then the parents were like, you've never played with snow? And then one of my students is actually in Michigan now where there's snow.
Oh,
So her mom said, like, I'm glad you introduced her to snow now I'm taking her to Michigan and she gets to see the snow.
Yeah.
And I was like, compare it.
Yeah.
You know, give her those descriptive words to say, does it feel like the snow it felt when you were with Miss Adrian? And,
Yeah.
and is it colder or warmer? And she was like, I never thought of that. And I was like, well, now you got some learning stuff to do.
Get busy.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. So however, we want to help children make connections. And when they make connections, they keep that learning and build on it when they can connect to it. So learning to sort and match. What are ways that we can help children learn to sort and match things?
First off, teaching them colors.
Yeah,
Or what the item is.
what the item is.
And then, I guess, like, having them figure out what's similar and what's different.
Absolutely. That is a precursor, yes. So you could have all the children take off all their shoes and put them in a circle and have them find their shoes. And then, or even have them take off one shoe and put one shoe in the middle and keep one shoe on, and they have to find their matching shoe. Matching socks. Bring a whole bunch of socks. I always love matching socks. Yeah. And at Learning Spaces, they put a twist on the matching socks, where they matched the socks and they had to throw them in the basket like it was basketball. And the kids were excited about that.
I think the parents were more excited about that than the kids. Because they're like, now we can have help with laundry.
So we're going to now enter into the domains, the learning domain. So physical development. What is physical development?
That like your gross motor, fine motor.
Yeah, your big muscles and your little muscles. So if you're thinking about physical development, what does physical development look like? How does it progress across the ages?
So fine motor with infants would be like grabbing at things, like even just like grabbing their feet or playing with their hands, and then the next thing would like picking up their bottle, holding their bottle,
Right?
and then y'all can.
And you guys can, if someone wants to pull up Gerald's to go along with this slide. And this came from Gerald's as well. So at infants, they're just learning to gain control of their body. But then when they're 1 and 2, they can start to control some of their movements, and they can demonstrate that beginning coordination, right? They may not all be able to jump, but they can bounce or move, and some children have more rhythm than other children. And then when they get to 3, then they can control their body movements more. And then you'll see more balance. And I just think about, Joanna was just skipping earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And they start to gain the control of that eye, they show their eye-hand coordination more as they grow. And then 4-year-olds, they can fully participate. And they can participate in a variety of gross motor activities. And then they start to understand healthy and safe living practices. You can talk to them more about things that are good for your body, systems in your body. Toddlers have no idea what that is, but at 4, they do. So fine motor materials. What develops fine motor skills?
What you mean on that?
What materials can you use to develop fine motor skills?
And infants,
Starting with infants and going up.
Ripping paper?
Well, for infants, it's anything they can grasp onto.
grabbing the bottle,
Busy
grabbing the
boxes,
paddleboard.
nesting cups, things that they can fill and dump. Textured toys, cradle gems. Anything that'll fit in their hand.
Right.
What about toddlers? Shape sorting.
Sorting,
Yep.
bar, string, and bead.
Yep.
The little
Simple
pig board.
puzzle.
The jumbo pegs, yep. And the same with the jumbo puzzles, the chunky puzzles.
Legos.
I was gonna say like the Duplo box.
Yeah,
Lego box.
those big ones, and the snap beads that you pop together.
Oh, yeah, I like those.
Yeah, the snap beads. Also, they can also still do stacking rings, nesting toys, and then it says medium or large Legos, and then crayons. So what about preschoolers? It gets more defined, right? They can use the little brain flakes, anything that they can put together.
Would they be, that's a clothespin, the printers, the
Yeah, anything.
scissors.
Yep, scissors are an important thing, and a lot of children can't use scissors because we're like, no, you can't touch scissors ever.
I learned this now.
Well, and they cut hair. Just know
Sure do.
they're going to cut other children's hair.
Yep.
They're going to cut their hair. Yeah, they're going to. Yep.
She was like,
She cut her dog hair.
some paper to cut.
She
Yep.
still cut that dog hair though. She hid the hair.
My sister did the same thing to all my Barbie dolls. She gave them all really, really buzzed off cuts with the scissors. And they were my Charlie's Angels Barbie dolls. And they were not meant to have short hair.
They like to hold me.
So they will cut anything.
I nicely
So just
cut
be
mine
prepared.
off when I got gum stuck all in it at 6. I didn't want my mama to find out, but she still found out because I had bald spots from cutting it.
You thought you had it. You was like, I'm gonna get this.
So if you think about active physical play, what is active physical play for infants? Tummy time.
Tummy, I was going to say that tummy time.
Yeah.
Tummy time. A lot of, I just did a tour the other day where a mama asked if we had extra saucers and swings, and I was just listening because I was listening to someone else give the tour and listening to they explain why we don't. We don't because the children need to move.
Right.
We have children that are almost walking now at 10 months because they're moving. They're not stationary.
Right.
And they're able to get around all by themselves. Stand up, pull up, have things for them to pull up on. So that's what helps them move. Not keeping them stationary in bouncy seats, even on boppy pillows. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're helping them to move. Put a toy just out of their reach so they move their bodies to get it. Yeah. So anything that gives them, so pads or blankets, anything that helps them to pull up or go to. As they're getting ready to walk, giving them the little push toys that they can push and hold on to and go in front of. But most of the time I haven't seen any of our babies use those.
They use the chairs.
They just they stand up on the furniture, and then when they're standing up on the shelf, because they're little bitty shelves, then they just take off. And there's no. We had a little baby take off the other day, and everybody was so excited because she wasn't showing any interest in it at all. And then it's just like, boom, there she is, like, whoa, she's walking. It was only 3 steps, but it was 3 steps.
Right.
Yeah. Toddlers, it's riding toys with pedals. Give them things that they can push and pull on. The little bike machines that has no pedals, but that they have to use their feet. Yeah. Giving them things that they can do for themselves. They love boxes. Give them a box. Toddlers will sit and play in a box all day long. The big boxes like from refrigerators and dryers and stuff, they'll sit in those boxes. You know, at Christmas time, that's what they want to play with is the wrapping paper in the boxes. Same thing. In preschool, anything that they can climb. Multiple skill development. Hoops, balls, jump ropes, cones, set up obstacle courses for them. Anything to get them physical and get them moving. So, we are going to watch, if I can pull up this video here. I want us to watch the discoveries of infancy, and some of the videos, because these are older videos, some of them have been removed. So hopefully it has not been. Yay, it's still here. So this is from West Ed, and they do, I love their videos because they really hone in on, even though it's an older video, it's still, the information is relevant today. And it all is still very. So this was really eye-opening for me when I first watched it.
It changed forever the way we live. 500 years ago, Galileo discovered that the Earth isn't at the center of the universe. This changed the way we think about our place in the cosmos. Today's explorers make their discoveries with the whole world watching.
Ignition and liftoff.
We share with them the excitement of liftoff, the adventure of flight, the exploration of space.
This 102-degree roll.
Adult fascination with the secrets of the universe is the same fascination we see in infants. They concentrate, they solve problems, they experiment, following the same path of discovery as Galileo.
I wonder what all of those children are doing now as they're adults now.
When you watch infants closely, you start to get a feeling for just how important discovery is to them. They're busy trying to make sense out of their experiences. Hundreds of times a day, they are uncovering the mysteries of the world, learning from what they see, hear, feel, taste, and touch.
And I'm going to see you a little bit later. Take care. Bye. See you. Hello. I'm Gary Thompson, Director of the Oakland Parent-Child Center. One of the things that impresses me most about infants and toddlers is their constant quest for knowledge. No matter what infants are doing, they're taking in information. They order, classify, integrate, kind of like a computer. In this video, we will explore the process of discovery and show how infants and toddlers learn.
Infants use every means they have to learn about things. They start with simple sense and motor experiences and move toward figuring things out in their heads. Young learners use materials in any way that occurs to them and learn lessons as much from getting it wrong as getting it right. Many of the early lessons can be grouped into the following 6 discoveries. How to use tools. The relationship between cause and effect. The understanding that objects are permanent. How things move and fit in space.
And if you watch children in a classroom, you'll see them manipulate items in the exact way that these children do. They both think they can fit in that car.
How to organize action and thought into patterns, schemes for learning. Schemes are important because they are the building blocks for all other discovery. By using learning schemes like banging and mouthing, a child gains valuable information about things. Early on, schemes are simple. Mouthing, banging, handling,
And you see they all want to put everything in their mouth first.
lead to discovering the properties of
And they'll
objects
shake it in
and how they
bang.
are best used. Infants will try their schemes on just about everything. In the process, they learn about objects and get ideas about new ways to act. Eli is exploring what he can do with his toys. As he studies them, how they move, how they feel, he learns to treat them differently, and in the process begins to understand the concepts of similarity and difference. Experiences with hard things, soft things, noisy things, sticky things, give children information that helps them put objects into categories, such as things to shake or things to pull. Sometimes the schemes a child knows, such as moving objects back and forth and up and down, don't work too well. Infants practice adapting
And you can still
and
buy
combining
those.
schemes until they perfect one that works.
Yeah, we have one at Learning Spaces.
Practice not only makes perfect, it leads to experimentation.
And it makes the noise.
There's always something more to figure out. As children grow older, they become more selective in the way they handle things. They don't need to use every scheme they know on every object. Instead, they pick and choose, no longer using basic schemes like mouthing and banging when they're exploring such qualities as size, shape, and color. Infants also develop schemes related to the actions of people, such as connecting music to dance.
Are you dancing?
And the appropriate use of things like cups, forks, and spoons.
Bless you.
Scheme development helps children discover how objects are best used and how to use them in new and interesting ways. It is the foundation for all other discoveries. As infants develop, they begin to understand that events and outcomes are caused. They learn to cause things to happen themselves and to search objects for ways to make things happen.
Good girl, Krisha.
Young infants don't know the relationship between cause and effect. Brett is surprised when the toy rolls away and doesn't seem to realize that he caused it. Through exploring and experimenting, the connection between cause and effect starts to become clear. Gradually, infants learn that a specific action, such as turning the knob on the music box, will produce a predictable outcome.
She's much faster than the music, and that's the ski
Use this
part.
wind-up cheerleader to illustrate how children develop an understanding of cause and effect. For safety's sake, stay close if you use this type of toy.
She gave us
7-month-old
safety
Judy
guidance,
is
too.
fascinated with our cheerleader.
Is she gonna get you?
At her stage of development, she explores the toy, and in the way she knows how, may even be trying to get it going again.
Mouthing, banging, the schemes of learning.
20-month-old Elliot is fascinated too. At first, he relates to the cheerleader as Judy did. But then he examines it more closely. It's almost as if you can see his mind working, inspecting the toy. As he explores, he tries to cause it to move again. He uses his hand to get the baton going. He bangs its head in imitation of how the caregiver got it to move, and finally gives it back, maybe to get the caregiver to start it moving again.
Oh, wow.
He knows more about cause than Judy does.
See how it
Hasn't yet
progresses?
learned the connection between turning the knob and causing movement.
He's like, I'm done.
Tonito, with 2.5 years of experience behind him, has no problem finding out what makes the gorilla jump. He goes right for the wind-up knob.
What's the difference?
He's made the connection.
Oh, because he's older?
Yes. And that's what she said, he's made the connection.
Throughout infancy, children are continually discovering the links between cause and effect, and searching out the causal mechanisms. They learn that they can cause things to happen with their own bodies, that other people and objects can cause things to happen, and that specific parts of objects, like wheels, light switches, and buttons on cameras, can cause specific effects.
Sense and motor actions like mouthing, rubbing, and dropping are building blocks for future learning. As children explore and play, their thought processes grow in a purposeful and in an orderly way. When a child makes a discovery, it may not by itself seem like much, but even a tiny insight is part of a larger learning process. A new insight, such as something causes a toy to move, is influenced by previous insights. Things move.
She gonna get you?
And influences future ones. Hey, I can turn a knob and make a toy move. Each insight leads to new insights and greater knowledge. All learning takes place this way. With this in mind, let's take a look at the next two discoveries, use of tools and object permanence.
A tool can be anything: a cry, a hand, a caregiver, or an object. Anything children can use to accomplish what they want. Infants learn to extend their power through the use of tools.
Yeah.
They learn that a tool is a means to an end. Young infants learn to use their bodies to get what they want. For example, early crying usually brings a nurturing response. After repeated responses, the child learns to use the cry to get her needs met. Infants use their bodies as tools in lots of different ways. By reaching out for things, by crawling to a desired object, by pulling what they want to them.
He's like, I got it.
By learning to use even their mouths as tools, they get done what they want to get done. Another way infants demonstrate their growing awareness of tool use is by getting people to do things for them. They often use their caregivers as tools.
Can you tell when kids are autistic at that age?
I think they may show some delays, but typically they don't evaluate that till
The
they're out.
caregiver is seen as an effective way to get things done. It might not seem very complimentary to be treated as a tool. But using you as a tool is an important step in the infant's cognitive growth. Your going along with them is a great gift. Really? Okay. Of course, objects are tools too.
She was concentrating on that too.
Janaea is figuring out that she can get the hammer she wants by using the towel as her tool.
There is the hammer. Yay,
Sherman is using a chair to get to a toy. As children grow older, they develop this type of tool use strategy in their heads. At these later stages of infancy, ideas have become tools. Johnny has come up with the idea of using the abacus as a tray.
That's why it's important to talk to them about what they're doing.
Trying something new may not always work, but it's the idea that counts. With this new thinking ability, he can accomplish many things.
And he still put it back on the abacus.
He knows he needs a tray.
Yeah.
For young babies, out of sight often means out of mind. Infants are not born knowing about the permanence of objects. They learn this important lesson gradually. Repeated experiences with such things as a bottle or a mother's face help children discover that familiar objects are permanent. One of the ways infants show their initial understanding of this concept is by identifying and tracking objects. They learn that though a thing moves or is temporarily out of sight, it still exists. Being able to hold an object in memory, even when it is hidden from sight, is a major intellectual achievement. 4-month-old Eli doesn't yet do this. At 7 months, Judy is just starting to get the picture and hold a favorite doll in memory.
Where did she go? Can you figure that out?
That's why they think their parents aren't coming back.
There she is.
And certainly seems to recognize the doll when it reappears. 20-month-old Elliot has kept a car in memory for quite some time and searches for it, confident of its existence. It's obvious that he knows what he's looking for.
Elliot found the car. Good job.
And he looks so proud of himself too, like, I did it.
By the time a child is Sophia's age, she has a clear sense that things are permanent. She can keep in mind the book and where it went. When asked, she can even find it. Sophia has come to know that things exist over time, that there is a past, present, and future. Her whole world is taking on a greater sense of stability. There is also an emotional component to understanding the concept of permanence. Learning that Mom exists, even when she's not in the room, deepens the child's attachment and heightens her awareness of Mom when she's gone. Yating's capacity to keep in mind an image of her mother is important.
She keeps watching for Mommy to come back.
It is strengthening her ability to form emotional attachments.
Ya-Ting and her mother show us a close connection between intellect and emotion. Children not only integrate intellectual and emotional development, but all developmental domains: intellectual, emotional, social, physical, and language. They're learning any number of things at once. For example, when a child steps on a block, he may simultaneously develop a scheme, like I can use a foot to squash things. Learn about cause and effect. By squashing, I can cause a noise. And use a tool. With that noise, I can get someone's attention. As you can see, the discoveries overlap. It's important to remember that it's adults, not children, who divide them into categories. What children do is more integrated. They don't think, now I'm learning about object permanence and now cause and effect. They are just learning. I think you'll see this better as we look at the last two discoveries.
A good deal of the infant's learning has to do with issues of distance.
He thinks he's in the car.
And perspective. These lessons are learned as infants bump into things,
thinks
squeeze
he's in
into
the
tight
car.
spaces, and see things from different angles. Through tracking, infants not only begin to discover the permanent nature of objects, they also begin to understand how objects move. Being able to identify an object in space and track it through space fascinates infants. So does learning that things at a close distance can be reached.
Pretty baby.
But getting everything is not so easy.
Babies
Some
are
things
always
get
naked.
stuck. Learning about barriers to movement of objects, or even yourself, occupies a lot of an infant's time. Lessons about perspective
This is really
can show
important.
up from anywhere.
That's what a ball looks like to a
far
small
away
one.
Looks small, but when it gets close, it looks very different.
We don't think about that.
Small things teach about space too. In a very real sense, infants and toddlers are young scientists, busy investigating the physical universe. They are finding out about shape,
Very good. You did it.
relative size, containers,
They love to fill and dump. We as the adults might not like that, but they like
gravity, balance. As children develop, they put together the knowledge they have acquired and enjoy a challenge, like making things fit. Just about everything challenges the young child's understanding of space. Look what can be learned from a simple strand of beads. Jake punches them, trying to fit them back into the cup. He dumps them, and then Shalise takes over and tries to feed the beads into the basket. Much of spatial learning is not so obvious, such as this lesson in gravity. These beads are going to fall unless I scrunch up my shoulders. And this one in spatial rearrangement. How can I get this thing to go over my head? Spatial lessons come in all shapes and sizes. Even when things get a little rowdy, there are lessons to be learned. One of the most powerful learning devices used by infants is imitation. Imitation fosters the development of communication and a broad range of other skills. Even very young infants learn from trying to match what they see and hear. They also learn when their caregivers imitate them. This can lead to a meaningful give and take. At first, infants imitate familiar things, such as a smile or a coo. They are beginning to use imitation to communicate. Rhythms of conversation, facial expressions, and gestures. All are imitated. As the infant develops, his imitations get more complex and purposeful, using coordinated actions, such as rhythmic pounding, vocalizing, and the ever-popular peekaboo. At every stage of infancy, children repeat and practice what they see. By doing the same thing over and over again, it becomes their own.
They always imitate the telephone.
Sometimes they imitate things long after they have seen them. Things we do that we don't even think about are imitated by children.
That's funny.
They pick up just about anything, even the motions of a parent's morning workout. Children continually use what they pick up to be social and communicate. Dog. Imitating what people say is a major way children learn to talk.
Big toe and little toe. Big toe. Big
They use the words and actions of others to organize their
Very
thinking.
flexible.
Right.
It's those morning workouts with mom.
Songs, games, language, and social play all depend on imitation.
The sky so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle.
Imitation helps children learn to share activities and to incorporate the wisdom and knowledge of others to act effectively in the world.
Want to sing again? Yes? Yes? Twinkle, twinkle.
Imitation. Cause and effect. Use of tools. Object permanence. Space. Learning schemes. When you see the discovery process in action, you start to relate to children in a new way.
Your role in the entire discovery process is crucial. What's most important is to have an attitude of respect and appreciation for what children are doing. An understanding of the 6 discoveries will deepen this appreciation and will help you find a way to support early learning. Here are some principles you may find helpful to keep in mind.
Set up a rich yet uncluttered environment. To keep things interesting, rotate your supply of toys. Too many toys at once interfere with the children's concentration. Observe children to see which of the discoveries they are engaged in. This will help you to find the best ways to relate to their play. Don't be tempted to teach children specific lessons. The activity a child chooses is the most important thing for the child to be doing at that moment. Let activities go on longer than you might think you should before you try to help. You might interrupt a significant learning experience. The least amount of help is often the best.
I don't have any more. We have to use these. You want to use this?
A little participation without interfering lets the child's play unfold. Your sensitivity to the importance of the learning process is key. Children will be encouraged by your attention and interest in their play. Your support offers children the security they need to freely engage in discovery.
What I hope we've helped you to see is the specialness and the significance of early learning. Infants are in a lively encounter with the world, gaining new eyes to see with, thoughts to think with, and skills to use. By knowing the 6 discoveries, you will find it easier to share in the drama and the excitement of learning.
So what did you all think of that video? What did it make you think of as you watched it?
How children learn. Kind of let them help them. Let them discover themselves.
Yeah, that was a big thing that I had to learn when I had Kalani, because I was so, like, I don't know, like, on her, I guess, or like, I guess I call myself being protective, but like when I joined Learning Spaces and then they were telling me like, you need to give her some space so she can do what she needs to do, and then that really helped me with that. So now I see why it's really important to let them like be free.
Discover.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that when you've been around children, but then you see the why behind what you were, the behaviors you were seeing, it's like, oh, the connections just start.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me years ago when I first watched this video. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
We watch kids doing that kind of stuff all day, and then it's like we were watching them but not really aware of what we're watching, and we're watching them learning.
Yes.
It's real cool.
Absolutely. Anything else?
I like the part where, like, the object is still there even though it's not there.
Object permanence.
And the with the moms leaving and not realizing that they're gonna come back, and I don't miss that part. Setting with the crime, but I get it on the weekends, and I'm like, she'll be back, and then one thing that I try to do with the older ones, because they still do it at 3 and 4.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. Like, when do they really get?
Well, you got to think about it. Oftentimes, the mom is always there with them, so there's no separation.
Yeah.
So when the mom actually does separate,
because we're always together.
My 3-year-old has it bad. After 3 years, I didn't even tell you, Miss Lisa. Last week was the first week he walked right in and gave us and sat down.
Good.
Literally. And he did it all, well, this week too. I haven't been dropping him off, but he has it bad.
Do you think
Why
it's
is
because
that so
you're not
bad for
dropping them off?
some and not others?
Well, only this week.
Yeah. Okay.
I would only have to drop him off because nobody
because
else
he
want to
wouldn't.
deal with it.
Okay,
His dad don't want to deal with that. He be snatching him up by his hair. Like, it's bad. He has it bad.
Why is that different for some and some can just walk in and it's
so
okay?
weird.
And it's not even like the parents doing.
It all goes back to their temperament too.
Like, why? Why does he feel this? I don't know.
And a lot of the children are slow to warm. So they're really attached to their caregiver, and it's hard for them to let go of that. And then if they don't have that bond with a caregiver, that's what's important, to have a bond with a caregiver. So a teacher, then there's not that comfort of, well, I don't want to go to any of you all. I just want my mom. And if I can't have my mom.
None of my other kids. Only him. None of them did that.
And some children just have bigger reactions, than other children have.
Yeah, because some children, they won't cry, but they'll be to themselves.
Yeah.
But how you just wake up one day
and because he's probably
hug each other so tight.
But that's like, because he's been practicing, right? Like,
I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Miss Roslyn
Because it's
has really been working with him.
So he's started to form a bond with her. But if someone else had been there, it might not have went so well.
Because she
But-
was out. It was horrible.
Yeah. So he is starting to form a bond with someone else other than mom.
A trusting adult that he
Yeah.
knows that'll take care of his needs. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes they don't know you'll take care of their needs.
Yeah.
We had one baby one weekend. She didn't want to do nothing but stay in that playpen. She didn't want you to touch her. She didn't want you to feed her.
She didn't want to be bothered with nobody.
Nobody.
Like she didn't even want to like sit on the carpet with toys.
Nothing.
She
wanted to sit in that
she wanted
playpen
to
till
sit
her
in the-
parents came back.
That was her safe place.
That was her safe place.
Nobody could get
and listen
to
to the
her when
music.
she was
Yep.
there
And that's it.
and listen to music.
That might
kept
be what
trying
she
to-
does at home, though.
No, her parents said that's not what she did. Her
No, it
parents
was
said
unusual for them too. But I guess she like it's a room full
Yeah,
of
I don't
strangers.
know.
I don't know
No,
nobody.
yeah.
Yeah, let me
And
just get in my
and
little spot.
the playpen walls, like
right.
that was
She
her
like
barrier.
that.
From
Feel safe.
everybody.
It was nice that the parents were like they understood their child. So when
Yeah.
they dropped her back off the next day, they put her in the playpen.
Yep. And that's where she was
And
at
that's
all
where-
3 days.
But we changed her diaper, we fed her, like
Yeah.
we were still
We give her her snack and
but-
talk to her a little bit. I wouldn't even talk to her no more. 'Cause she- I was like, I won't talk a little bit. No, I won't talk. Here you go.
And you're like, I ain't even gonna look.
Let me go back to my side. I don't do them.
But like at 3 and 4 year olds, they still do that. And like one of the things that I try to do with them is I'll say, well, what is something fun that you do with your mommy, or what is something fun you do with your daddy, so that they can think of them and then try to do the things that they do with them, or like draw them a picture and show them what kind of fun you had, or just try to get them to not
Distracted.
think about that the parent is gone.
Yeah, I still have to tell Kalani, like, I be trying to tell her, like, she can be away from me, but I guess because we're together so, like, all the time, even if I'm in the kitchen, she's in the living room, like, after sometimes she'll just come in the kitchen, like, she just gotta make sure I'm
you're
there.
there.
And I'm like, Kalani, I'm here, like, you can hear me, like,
Even at,
Don't be doing her because that's your fault too.
even at learning spaces, you ever notice like when you get the little ones, like when they like 6 months or well, I'll say 7 months when they can start crawling.
Like dinner.
Yes. So Daniel is a
Yeah,
good example.
Daniel
Like
is
when he
good.
first came to us,
Yeah.
even though he was there like birth, like he was
Literally.
born and then she brought him.
Yeah.
And how he was up under his mom, and then
grandma brought him.
grandma brought him. And
Now he rocking and rolling.
he crawled
Them
everywhere.
elbows.
But he kept looking back.
Yeah.
But he was still able to explore his environment.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
And they came
like
at the
that.
time, because he wasn't always like that. We was like, you want to play today?
He was
like, that
all
was
around
really
the classroom
cool.
last time he was there. That was
Because
really
he is a
shocking.
mama's boy. He stayed
And
with his mama.
if you think about children remembering and not remembering, same thing. There are times that I go to learning spaces more than others, and so Kalani would be my friend. She would let me hold her and hug her, and then I haven't been for a minute, and then she's like, I don't know you.
Right.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's it. She was like,
The one time, like she had began asking for you, like, "Where's Lisa?" And I want to see Lisa. And then, like, the last time she saw you, she was like, "Hey, girl."
I don't know you.
My son, Miss Roslyn, was out for a week and a half.
Yep.
She came back. He wasn't dealing with her before she left. She came back. It's like he missed her. That was her first day back. That's when he ran up and walked. That's when it sounded like he missed her.
And he noticed her being absent.
Because he was like, I do have a bond with her. Like, I actually did miss her. That's so sweet.
Because it's something in the routine that they do that he missed.
About Miss
He was like,
Roslyn.
okay, when I see Miss Roslyn, Miss Roslyn gives me a hug. Miss Roslyn asks me how my day was and things like that. And so her not being there, he missed it. So when he came,
Girl, I miss
now
you.
he get it.
Because soon as, even if he's screaming, she still gets down to his level. Hey, big boy, are you ready to come to class? So and he could be falling out. I'm looking like this and then he's grabbing on my leg. She's like, grab my leg. Come on, big boy. Grab my leg. So I'm trying to bring his arms on my leg and wrap him around her leg
So good.
and take off running.
Teacher.
It's just that bond they form.
Yeah, That's so
Absolutely.
Okay, then the next question, because I like what you said about how you take him off of your leg and put him on her leg. What about those parents who don't understand that that's important and they turn around and pick them up and take them with them?
I'm guilty of that, Miss Lisa. You know I am. I have a whole breakdown. Miss Lisa's
I can't do it. I'm like, it's going to be okay. Let's get some help. We'll take it down the class.
I figured that
Helping them understand.
children will trust the person that their parents trust.
Yes.
So by you taking him off of you and giving him to Miss Roslyn, you're telling him, I trust this person to take care
I'm
of me.
talking
Miss
about even
Roslyn-
total strangers.
Miss
like
Roslyn
when
would tell me that
when
every
we
day.
have
Tell him that
nanny
you're
cam.
coming back and you're leaving him with me, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to leave him with me. I'm a safe person.
Yeah.
So I would, get to down to his level. Man, he wasn't trying to.
But I'm talking about outside of
like
a preschool setting, like when we do nanny can, it's different
Yeah.
because you got those kids that come in and they cling to the parent, and
Yeah.
instead of the parent understanding, let me just put them down and walk away, they'll come and they grab them.
What, do you guys have an opportunity then to have a quick conversation? Hey, Mom, hold on a second. It's okay.
To me, they're scared to have that conversation of the parent. Some
Right,
people-
but
But sometimes you might
but
even know
for
they
us
want
to
that
initiate that conversation.
Right, and I will, but I know sometimes it seems like to me like some of the adults are scared to say
Well,
stuff
yeah.
to the parent instead of
Yeah, I
giving
had
that
that
parent that
experience.
reassurance.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and I think
scared to
then
say
that's
something.
just maybe a training.
And all I want you to do is say
You
something.
say something right. See, you that
Some
parent.
of the
I
staff
love those parents.
Yeah.
don't kind of want that confrontation with the parent because sometimes the parent be like, well, just let me, you know what I'm saying? So I know some of the staff are like,
Good.
let me step back.
I let you. Go ahead. That's your baby.
Is
We
it
got
better, or does it depend on the child? Is it better to like say, hi, I'm leaving, I'm finna leave, or is it better to like sneak out?
I think it's never good to sneak out.
Yeah.
I think it's always good
To
say
because
bye.
that creates mistrust. If I turn my back, my mom's not going to be there when I turn back
Right.
around. Instead of just
And
saying,
what's
okay,
that
I'm
all
going,
about?
and then going through the discomfort.
Yeah.
Bye, I'll be back,
Yeah.
and go through the discomfort as you leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Because if you think about the video, they imitate and they learn by repetitive responses. So if we repeatedly sneak away from them, they're going to not trust that we're going to stay. Yeah.
Or that you'll come back.
Yeah, or that you'll come back.
We got some moms, they'll walk in and they be like, bye, see you later.
Yeah.
And they're gone. I love those moms.
I used
And
to-
after about 2 or 3 minutes, the child is fine. I'll be like, just kind of walk away and you know.
I used to
tell
do
them
that to
go.
my nieces, the twins who used to come and visit. They were attached, and I would take them to the classroom. They'd be just like Destin, just screaming, crying. The teachers would take 2 teachers to grab them because they're twins. And I go, okay, I love you. Aunt Lisa's going to work now. Bye, gotta go.
Right.
And then they'd just be like, she's really leaving? Yep. And I'd go back by a little later. I never hid myself. And they'd be on the teacher's lap still going, tears just down the face.
Like I can't believe you.
She left me here with this lady. I don't know them. No.
Okay.
See, Destin 5 minutes later, I go back. He's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And then eventually they became used to it. And then my older nephew would be like, if somebody told him something he didn't like, he'd go, do you know who my aunt is? No. And they'd be like, boy, we don't care.
That's so funny.
We don't care.
He's so funny.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
So just going through the discomfort.
Yeah.
And that, if you think about it, think about what you're intrinsically teaching the children too. Not everything's always going to be easy, but it's going to be okay. And it's going to get better.
Oh wow, I like that. I'm just saying
We do tell them all the time. It's going to
Yeah.
be okay. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
And then when they stop crying, I'm like, why you do that for your mama? Why you doing that to her? Why you do her like that? And then some of them laugh because they know, some of them know like because of the reaction that they get from their parents.
Yes.
If I cry for such and such time, so one of the things that I start doing is, what is your time frame for crying? Because it doesn't bother me. I can tune it out.
Yeah.
What is your time frame for the amount of time you allow them to cry before you want me to call you to come get them?
Yeah.
Because they can cry for the whole 3 hours that they're with us.
And they're not going to anyway.
No.
They're not. By the time I'm stringing beads and making this and making that, the parents come back like, what did y'all do?
And if so, they do cry for 3 hours, something's wrong.
Yeah.
No, the funny part is
time.
when
9 times out of
another
10.
kid comes up to that crying kid and be like, "What you crying for?
Yeah.
Do you see all of these bounce houses?"
This one little girl, her sister would not stop crying last week. She finally said, what she tell her big, I don't play with whiny crybaby girls, and kept running. She running behind her the whole time.
Make her not tell you guys, it was so funny.
Running.
When she was like dodging and turning and flipping
Everything.
and
She put her on a riding toy and took off.
and the little sister kept running after her. It was, when I tell you, it was so funny.
It was hilarious.
Because the little sister just wanted to be up under her.
Yeah.
And she didn't mind her sister being up under her. She didn't mind her sister playing with her. But
just
she
the crying.
wasn't
She didn't want you to cry.
They do Destin like that.
She did not want her to cry.
You gonna cry? You know how you like? Cause I'll say, now I'll hold you, but if you gonna cry while I'm holding you, I gotta put you down.
Yep.
And that's how the sister was. And the sister was 5, and the other one was 2.
Aww.
And she was just like, look, girl,
She did.
you gonna
Play with whiny crybaby girls.
Aww.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to take us back.
Okay.
So think about the subdomains for cognitive learning within GELDS. Do you all remember what those are? You can pull out the thing and look. You can pull out the GELDS box and look. What are those subdomains?
Cognitive development, creative. Did it beat all? Say that again.
When you, in the cognitive domain of GELDS and just in general, there are subdomains. If you're looking at the cognitive development domain, what do you see behind that development? What do you see in that section? What are the different subdomains that do you
Creative
see?
development.
Yes.
Cognitive processes.
What else? There are
Social
subdomains.
studies.
Yes, you're on it. Science. Yes. What else?
Math.
Yes. Those are all subdomains of cognitive in the cognitive domain. So we're going to talk about math first. At what age, in what classroom, should you begin to see a math learning center? What age group?
Maybe pre-K.
Yes, pre-K, preschool, pre-K, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. How does math look in toddlers?
Blocks.
Manipulatives, fine motor.
Okay.
Yes, because those are all things you can count and you can sort, but they are not, it's not called math.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about the foundations for mathematical reasoning, so in the beginning, and in 1-year-olds, they're just beginning to explore things. They're beginning to explore, they're beginning to show awareness. Think about when we talked about that emerging, developing, and mastered. Think about this domain from emerging, developing, and mastered. So 1-year-olds are emerging, 2-year-olds are developing, 3 and 4-year-olds are mastering. So if you think about it, big picture. So they're just beginning to explore it, and they're beginning to show awareness for certain concepts. So but then at 2, and where they were exploring basic shapes, they're identifying basic shapes and colors. They're beginning to sort and match. They're beginning to build beginning number concepts, beginning measurement concepts, and they're beginning to solve simple mathematical problems and think creatively. So if you take that on over to 3-year-olds, they're identifying basic shapes and colors. They're sorting. Instead of building beginning, they're starting to build number concepts. And then they're building measurement concepts, not beginning. They've moved past that. And now they're arranging objects. Instead of exploring concepts related to patterning, they're able to actually put things in a pattern. And instead of beginning to solve simple mathematical problems and think creatively, they're still beginning to solve the simple mathematical problems. So you see how that progresses? So that they're going from just exploring it to, oh, yay, okay, I'm building this foundation, to needing some assistance with it
And then math.
to be able to master it. And then for 4-year-olds, they start to have that understanding of numbers. So if you think about it, if we go back to what we were thinking about, when we think about what is age-appropriate activities for children to do, right? So for 1-year-olds, if they're just beginning to explore basic shapes, what do you have what's an activity for that? What materials do you give them for that?
Blocks.
Yes, you just give them blocks. You just give them puzzles because they're exploring with it. But then as they go to exploring with it at a 1-year-old, when they're 2, you can say, what's a triangle? You can start talking to them about a triangle and where the triangle puzzle piece goes in the triangle puzzle. And if they match it, talk to them about what that is. But then at a 3-year-old, you can actually give them the puzzle and they should be able to tell you where the triangle goes, if they've been taught that.
Right.
And then at 4, they already can understand 2 bears is 2. 3 of this is 3. What the word 3, what the word 2 looks like if they've been taught what that is. They can create and duplicate simple patterns. Instead of, at 3, they're arranging objects into simple patterns at 3. At 4, they're creating those patterns. So at 3, you're giving them the pattern.
The AB, like the AB pattern.
Yeah, but at 4, they're creating their own pattern. They can sort and classify the objects at 4. They're no longer exploring them or beginning to identify them. They're there. Cognitively, they can be there. Develop a sense of space and understanding of basic geometric shapes. They can know what it means to be underneath the table, beside my friend. Learn how to use a variety of means of measurement. They can use a measure. You can measure things with them, with yarn, with measuring tapes, with rulers. So cognitively, this is a whole different spectrum than
a 1-year-old.
And you all see how it is cumulative. They need the first foundation to get to the second level, to get to the third level, to get to where a 4-year-old is. They don't just jump from 1 to 1. But then if you think about it, you may have children in your classroom that have never been exposed to shapes.
Or scissors.
Scissors, sorting, patterns. So they're going to, you may still have a 4-year-old at a 1-year-old level at a very emerging level on that. They can catch up real quick because cognitively their brain is at a place that's where they can pick it all up, put the pieces together.
Right.
But we have to know that's what
it is. That seems more stressful.
More stressful? What do you mean?
When they gotta just, like how you say it's developmental, but then like you said, if you've never been exposed to it, then you gotta try to pick it all up later.
Yeah, it could be. But if you think about children that have never gone into care, any pre-K or anything like that prior to kindergarten.
Right.
And you think about how they don't know. So, but if you think about it, when they're exposed to it, in the same in a pre-K class, you get children at all different levels. But then by December, they're all on the same level.
And it's funny you should say that, Lisa, because because of COVID, a lot of kindergarten teachers were complaining because the children were at home and they weren't in those social environments. So when they came to the classroom, they didn't have those social skills. They didn't have like all those foundation skills that they would have had the world never shut down and they were able to go to a preschool or a learning space or something like that.
Right. Absolutely. And so we were seeing the gaps in the skills. Yep. And so some of the math concepts that we want for children is disseminating their colors, recognizing their shapes, being able to group objects or ideas into categories, understanding one-to-one correspondence, rote versus rational counting. What is rational counting?
5, 8, 12, 13, 16, 12. That's what I think it is. My personal opinion.
That's rote.
Oh, that's rote? Oh, okay.
Rational is where you're putting things together. Remember?
Oh, okay. Oh, you said rational, not irrational. I'm thinking irrational. Okay, so that is rote, though. Okay.
Yeah, rote is that memorization. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But I don't know that 2 bears is 2.
I be cracking up. That's funny.
Yes.
To me.
So rational is 2 bears is 2?
Yeah, when they're able to have the understanding that goes along with the rote. Rote is where you're just counting.
Okay.
And you don't know what a 1 is, a 2 is, a 3 is, but you know you're supposed to count to 10.
Until you
Yes.
say it. Okay.
Yep. And if we,
I like rote counting. They crack me up when they count like that. They be on it. They say 10, 11,
so
15.
this is so rational, that's what we just talked about. Rote is counting in the series of whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words associated with the number. Rational is related to knowing how many objects are given in that set.
Okay.
Yeah. But both are important because one leads to the other.
Okay.
So they're both important.
Because
And then
rote
be-
is going to be corrected, right? Is that why you said that?
Rote is.
Should it be?
Well, rote is the beginning.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Rational means they've got an understanding.
oh, okay.
Yeah, rote is just a 1-year-old counting to 5 or to 10. But then by the time they're 3 and 4, they're able to say, oh, 2 bears,
Okay.
3 dinosaurs,
Okay.
4 cars. Yeah.
You want choir rehearsal?
No, I'm not going to choir rehearsal.
This Saturday morning.
So let's
I
see.
used to choir rehearsal being on Wednesdays and Bible study on Tuesdays.
Saturday mornings. Ooh.
What materials are important to have for infants and toddlers?
Shape,
And rattles.
cradle gems with hanging shapes.
And you can get big chunky shape sorters for infants and toddlers. Telephones, toy telephones. You can get cash registers for toddlers too. Anything with numbers. Nesting cups, stacking rings. Cradle
I like
gems for
those.
infants.
I like the nesting cups. I play with them myself.
Let me look.
Yeah, rattles of various in shapes because they're just exploring at infants and 1-year-olds, right?
Right.
So for preschoolers, it's different, right? You've got small objects that you can use to count. You have money. You have puzzles where the objects are matched instead of just a big chunky bird or, everything. And so measuring rulers, measuring cups, tape measures, thermometers, balance scales, nested cups, unit cups, dominoes, playing cards, parquetry blocks. You all know what parquetry blocks are? Parquetry blocks we used to always call them parquetry blocks.
Okay.
But nowadays they're the little pattern blocks. They call them pattern blocks. It's the little blocks that you put together on the design to make the pattern.
Oh, like when you take the little rubber band thingies?
No.
Oh, like the little geometric
The
things?
geometric shapes that
Okay.
make that make a picture.
Yeah, like you would take the octagon and it'll make a circle, like you can make the flowers. And
Yes,
Yeah.
those are parquetry blocks. Old school folks know those as parquetry blocks. Yes, new age people here know them as pattern blocks.
All right.
Yeah. So also books on shapes, puzzles, magnetic shapes. Children love the magnetic tiles now that they can put together and build all kinds of things with. 3 and 4-year-olds and school age children really love those, and the little brain flakes that you can put together.
Brain flakes.
Yeah, the 4-year-olds love brain flakes, and after-school children love brain flakes. And written numbers. So in addition, so like your telephones actually have the numbers on it, your cash register, calculator. So having also in the midst of materials, you want to have the display in your classroom should be very print rich. No matter what domain you're working on, should all be very print rich. Numbers, letters, shapes, even environmental print like logos of stores in your dramatic play. McDonald's, Kroger, Walmart, wherever they shop. Yeah, cereal boxes that are cut out and laminated. Yeah, that's environmental print. So even in your science center, when we talk about science, you should have pictures of weather, animals, books. In math, there should be beginning at 3-year-olds, there should be books in every center that matches that center. 3 and 4-year-olds, books in every center. Paper, pencil in every center. So they can write if they want to. They can draw pictures if they want to. You're making things accessible to them so they can be creative with them.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So now let's talk about what science looks like. So we talked about math. So picture this again as cumulative across ages, right? Because we're looking big picture. Again, what are 1-year-olds doing? Actively exploring. 2-year-olds, they're actively exploring with a little bit more. So at 1, they're using sounds and simple words, but at 2, they're asking questions.
Exploring and identifying. Okay.
And the same with the 3-year-olds. They're actively exploring, they're using language to describe, whereas 1-year-olds are not. And 4-year-olds, they use processes of science to actively explore and increase understanding of the environment and acquire specific knowledge related to life science, physical science, and earth science. And you can do science. We talk about science can be done anytime. Math, all that can be, when we say everything is interrelated, it's all interrelated. You're not just, so you could be doing an activity where you're having the children guess or they're graphing how many pets they're having, what type of pet they have. Well, that's science and math. So everything is interrelated. So nothing is just in a silo by itself. And if you remember, the director on the video said the adults are the ones that categorize it.
Yep.
Children are just learning. Yes. And so in your science center, you want to make sure that you have natural objects. And this is per our environment rating scales. You want to have plants, rocks. You can even have feathers, leaves based on the seasons, live flowers that they've picked. In the spring, if you are around daffodils or tulips, or having books and games, living things that they can care for, like let them care for the houseplants or a pet. I've never really had a lot of success with pets. Even fish.
Remember the hamster that got away?
Yeah, and the bird that is no longer with us. But even on having books, games, anything about science, having things that they can measure, having measuring spoons, measuring cups, tools, binoculars, magnifying glasses, color tiles so that they can see things with changing colors, seashells, tweezers, things that can sink and float, nature sequencing. You can actually get like nature bingo and stuff like that. So, or you can create your own, but just having things that relate to science. And we don't always use science. I never used the science center like I was supposed to when I was a teacher.
I love science.
I was a new teacher. I didn't do science experiments. We did not use science. So, but actually letting the children be creative with it. Giving them rocks and magnifying glasses. Let them take the magnifying glasses outside. Finding bugs, catching bugs. And then have a conversation about how do we care for the bug. And then chart and watch the conversation you had about caring for the bug.
You had that one little boy say, well, such and such eat that bug.
Yep, and then you say, well, we need to, on there you'll say, we need to make sure our bug stays away from such and such. So it stays alive longer. Okay, so when you're thinking about science, there's physical science, life science, and earth and environmental science. And this is more of a 4-year-old concept. So if you see the x-rays and the rocks, so they're going to be learning different things about science. They're going to be having that deeper understanding of nature and natural things. So when you're thinking about, we talked about inquiry, so you want to make sure that children have opportunities to predict, investigate, estimate, classify, and graph things. And do you all, when you're in classrooms, do you ask them questions of, I wonder what would happen if we did this? What if we did this? How can we find out? What do you think we need to do? And actually trying it. Especially in 3- and 4-year-old classrooms. Even with a toddler, if they're building something, well, let's try it. Let's see. What do you think will happen if you do that? And then when it falls, you can say, oh my gosh, it fell. And just be real fun with it, you know. So when we talked about physical science, that is investigating the properties of light and shadow, properties of matter, motion. That's definitely 4-year-old skills. Life science is characteristics of living things. Earth science and space science is weather, how weather affects things, objects at twilight, sights and sounds at night, what we see and hear during the day. Okay, so now we're going to go to the other one, which is social studies. So we've had math, science, social studies.
Will we get this PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Okay.
And so that's the same thing, foundations for social studies. Social studies is also, it's not just places, it's cultures and people too. And so for 1-year-olds, they're recognizing family and personal relationships. Same thing, they're recognizing significant ones, but at 2 and 3, they're recognizing family roles and personal relationships. You're the mommy, you're the sister, my mommy, my daddy, my sister. They recognize community roles. So if you think 1-year-olds, they don't really recognize community. But 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds start to begin to do that. And then 3-year-olds explore concepts of place and location, like Walmart, the grocery, wherever they go to, school. And then 4-year-olds begin to develop an appreciation of their role as a member of the family, the classroom, and the community, and they develop respect for differences in people, and they express beginning geographic thinking. Like they can tell you what road they live on, a lot of them. If the parents talk about their drive home to them, okay, now we're going to turn on ABC Highway. Then they can tell you, I live on ABC Highway. And they're proud that they live on that road. And well, how do you know that? Well, my mommy drives me there, and they know where their school is. They know without you telling them, we're going to school.
Yep, my kids know.
Yeah.
If I make a wrong turn a different way, where are we going, Mom?
I thought we were going to school.
Because they start to notice the landmarks.
She just
absolutely
started that, and she'll be like, if I start going, like she does this thing. If I start going faster, she'll be like, go, 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 and I'll be like, oh, I need to slow down. Cause what? Like she started going out, looking out the window, and being like, oh, okay. And then she notices, like, if we're close to my mom's house, her grandma, she's like, grandma's house. I'm like, no, we're not going to grandma's house. But it's really like, I don't know, that's so cool, because I never really explained it. Like, I don't really say, like, we're driving to grandma's. I might say we're going to grandma's, but now she, like, asks for grandma's house, or if we're close, she's like, are we going to grandma's house? So I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Just pick up on stuff.
Absolutely. And you see, again, it's cumulative. The more you expose them, the more of a foundation you're building for them.
Right.
So these are some of the components of social studies: space and geography, people and how they live, people in the environment, and then people and the past. So when we were babies, how people change over time. And that's hard for them, I think, to understand that everyone was a baby at one time. They don't get that part. Location, I think with the location, for 4-year-olds, it's hard to teach them where something can be found on the earth, on the earth. Like you can show them a globe and you can help them to see the blue part is the water, this is the land. But like latitude and longitude, they're not cognitively there for that. And relative location, like they can get Kroger is next to Walmart, or Popeyes is next to Walmart, or so-and-so is next to so-and-so. They can get relative things. And so but going into that complete latitude, longitude, that's more of a school age skill. And so how would you teach about location to young children?
You said location.
How would you teach the 4-year-olds about location?
Maybe a compass.
I think it covers.
That's too deep. That's more like a map.
But I think you could have them draw a map. Let's draw the playground.
Right.
And they can tell you everything is on the playground.
Yeah.
Or even, like I said, using landmarks. Like, my street is, I live here, and Walmart is 2 lights ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Just making sure that it's in a way that in their language, so that they can grasp it. Place is where, what does it look like? What does something look like? What is the physical characteristics, and what are the human characteristics? So if it's buildings, human-made buildings, roads, cars, culture, language, customs, or trees, shrubs, rocks, land. So and when we think about people, how do you teach children about people and the environment? And what age is a good age to teach that?
Toddler.
Cognitively. If you think about cognitive development, what age is the better age?
2 to 3? 3 to 4? I think 3 to 4.
I think 3 to 4.
Yeah,
3 to 4.
I think 3 to 4.
And 4s will have a better understanding than a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. So it'd be like an introduction
To 3.
at 3, and then 4-year-olds, they just start.
And you can still, they're still learning about people like at toddlers, but they're really more about who's directly involved with me. Whereas you can teach 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds about other people. And so you can have children do activities that affect the environment, or have conversations with children about why activities are important: watering the grass, planting trees and flowers, picking up trash, collecting materials. And then you want to add props to your dramatic play that teaches children how we adapt to the environment during different seasons. Sunglasses, beach props, winter.
That's my season.
Yeah. So, when we think about, I want to ask you all to, and since there's just 2 tables of you, if you all want to work together, and I want you all to think about multicultural activities, and I want you to think about what are some activities that can explore the differences and similarities in cultures. That addresses food, dress, and language. I want you to think about that. And you guys can talk together and think about what are some activities that will do that.
I think for similarities, I think weddings, because to me, a lot of cultures, we all have a traditional wedding, but they all have cultural differences in weddings.
Like food around the world. Like, I think it was Lola talking, and even Natalie was talking about who has a 4-day wedding. Who was that?
Nicole, because she's Nigerian.
Okay.
My god sister, that was Lola. They do 4 days.
And then somebody was saying that there was one where, like, tradition where they have to, that they're, what's the word I'm thinking about? What word am I thinking about? Like, in some cultures where they're, like, you know what word I'm looking for, where you have, that the mate is already
Middle East person, they will wrap things
betrothed to them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Arranged marriage.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Like, we try to,
I'm like, no.
trying to reach.
I'm not there.
Yeah,
But like arranged marriages.
Like
So would
some
it
cultures
be?
have arranged marriages.
So would the activity be reading that to them, or would it be like what activities would teach them that
About weddings?
about whatever culture?
So you can show pictures. You can read a book. You can put things in the dramatic play area. Because like they wear a different garment for every
different weddings.
part, even different ceremonies.
Yeah, I was at, traditionally, we might
like
wear
that
one
book. Same but different.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that book.
example. Yeah, I like that book too.
Yep.
And then the food at weddings are different. Who can marry?
Nobody.
Talk about weddings.
Because to me, that was the
really
easiest.
got me thinking about.
No, the reason I said
Like,
weddings was
should I go
because
there?
weddings are same, but different.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But culturally, they all do it differently.
Yeah.
Summer holidays.
They dress different, they eat different, they have different
I
activities
really
that go
don't
on.
remember learning about that kind of stuff.
We are spending
Like
thousands
culture
of
and stuff.
dollars.
I really didn't get into like other cultures until like I was in like school. Like I don't remember none of that elementary.
But I wish they would, like you
other
said, I didn't really get into it till school, but it should be taught younger because I didn't understand why the Jehovah's Witness kids couldn't go do stuff with us for Christmas.
Right.
And I felt bad, or I was like, that's mean that they can't come do it with us, but that's their culture and what they do. But the kid understood, but I didn't understand.
I think it is kind of like hard, or it seems like abstract kind of to teach.
That's the day that
Or like, I don't know, like
all the people that they lost and here in America.
I guess it would just be, well, in my head, I can only picture like, see, like this picture, like showing them pictures, like this is them in school, or this is their classroom, or this like that.
Right.
Like just comparing, I feel like would be the easiest way to explain that to them.
Like because like the book same but different. Like they have animals, but their animals are outside.
Right.
And some animals are kept inside.
And they had so many more animals versus like
Your pet might be a goat, where your pet, most of our kids' pet is a dog or a cat.
Or even like the family picture where the little boy was like, in my house, it's my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself.
Yeah.
And then the other one he had is
Everybody's in the house.
and that's something. In some places, that's culturally.
Because remember when I told him, I told the kids, I was like, that looked like my house. But I grew up with all the people in the house.
Right, and then having them bring things from home also forces the parent to interact with them and talk about those things with them before they come to school. Come to class.
And then, like the language, because we're getting, didn't we just, get ready to do, talk about something about, say hello.
Oh, yes,
Somebody read a book
We had
with a language.
Well, it's in our January book.
Oh, okay.
Say hello, is it?
It's like, I think it is say hello. And
it
it's
teaches you different ways to say hello. And then there is a, and we
So
can,
books are really good.
and I just thought about this when we do, for learning spaces, for music and movement, there is a song by Go Noodle that is a hello song.
Oh yeah, that Taylor used to do. Taylor used to do that. Okay, yes. I do remember.
And then like they call the different family members different names and different, you know, because I call my grandma, but someone who's Hispanic call their grandmother abuela.
I call my grandma Granny. This is my granny. But my baby, she called her grandma.
They were so terrible.
Some people call them Meemaw.
Medea.
Yep. It just depends, like you say, culturally. Culturally. Oh, what else goes to that?
One more minute.
Reading. Always go back to singing.
We did our
And dancing.
And dancing.
But I've been sick all
Oh, to different cultures, music.
Because where some people look at twerking as a bad thing, in Jamaica and stuff, that's their culture. That's how they dance.
Oh yeah, I had a Filipino friend in high school,
They
and
was talking about this little girl real bad online one day, but I'm like, she from the Bahamas, Trinidad, so they dance like that. You can't get mad. This is a 7-year-old little girl dancing like that, but it's just looked at, I guess, that way as provocative in America.
Yeah. Oh, and the fact like how the other day, even right, how the other day even how Lolo said she didn't know about the Eve gene and stuff. Oh yeah. And she didn't know about it. She said she didn't know about it because they don't really talk about that stuff in Africa. The Eve gene, like how black women can have any race babies.
Ain't that crazy?
Oh, they don't?
Yeah,
they don't talk about
right. And I was like, I felt like everybody knew that, and I told her, and she was just like, "What?" Like she didn't know that. And I'm like, I didn't know that even like that is a thing. Like,
oh wow,
just knowing certain things.
You listening to us?
I'm like, I don't know why. I wonder why that is though.
It's like
why is that American thing, or you know, like I didn't think of that as like an American thing.
And just like yesterday when we were having our conversation, and Bilal was telling us that he was raised Muslim.
Oh yeah, and how
he started dissecting
he
the
could date
Quran
his
and saw
cousin and
discrepancies
stuff.
in the Quran, and that's why he switched.
It's discrepancies in both. So it's all on the person.
Yeah.
And what you believe.
And then he was talking about how culturally, like where he was from, the woman didn't say anything, but his wife is like
she said she had to calm down on it. Now it's like, what do you say? 3 to 4
times a year.
A year. I'm like, oh
wait, what are we talking about? Are we talking about what I think we were talking about?
Well, I thought he was talking about her beating him up. I'm like,
He was talking about discipline.
but he was, because he called it discipline. He was like, yeah, my wife used to do that. I was literally like, are you telling us? Do you think else?
I was like, blink twice if you
Right. And then he was like, I was like, she be hitting on you? He was like,
Okay, are you all ready?
he was like, no.
So Terry is streaming with us, and so she texted me her answer. She's been texting me her answers along with you all. And so I want to read her answers first, and then we'll share. So she shared when it was what activities to explore culture. She said food, music, clothes are all ways to share cultures. Black History, Hispanic Heritage, Asian American Month, display books and pictures in the classroom. Have families share general traditions, for example, camping, fishing. Some families play musical bands or dance. And she said that one year she had the families either bring an item or a photo about what tradition they have or what they like to do, and the children were encouraged to discuss it, but the parents were there to support in discussing. So now, which group would like to share? Now.
Oh, okay. We said pictures. So we just listed things that could help facilitate that. So we said pictures, books, like the book same but different. Dress up, food, comparing, using pictures. Have family pictures, bringing it to class, like she said. Show and tell, and using music and language.
Okay.
Teaching different languages.
Okay. Next table, what were your thoughts?
We pretty much said the same thing. I just kidding, it was Lisa.
I was waiting.
She mentioned something about like the way that different cultures celebrate things, and even their clothing is different.
Yeah.
She mentioned something. We went into depth, like even about Christmas, like the meaning behind Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And all of the ideas are great, but always remember that start with the diversity that's within the children in your group. So they may not all come from the same family type. They may not all live in the same type of home. Yeah, so start with the diversity that's within your group, and don't be talk about, okay, we're going to talk about where we live. We're, talk about our families. And at this table, they were talking about, the first table, about people living all in the household. Like, some people growing up didn't have any family members living there, but then other people growing up had lots of people living in their household. So talking about who all, and nowadays I think we're going back to more people living in a home together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being able to talk about that, and for the children to see that everybody lives differently. And that's one way, is when you all talk about having the discussions, is talking about it and not being afraid. Years ago, it was taboo to talk about tattoos with young children, and it was taboo to talk about all of that. But you're not encouraging them to go get out and get a sleeve down their little arm at 5.
Right. No.
But you were just talking to them about, some people have tattoos, some people don't have tattoos, especially if you have a tattoo and they want to know about your tattoo and are curious. There's nothing wrong with having an age-appropriate conversation.
And the misconception of tattoos.
Yeah.
People think tattoos are for bad people. A lot of kids think that, but in actuality, it's artwork.
Absolutely.
In some places, it's cultural.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been seeing that.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that.
This 3-year-old little girl, she came to me at Nanny Fair, and she said, she kept looking at me first. She looked at my nose. She came and touched it. She said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a nose ring." She was like, "I like that." Already made me know she was inquisitive. She said, "When I become a big girl, I'm gonna get one of those." She said, "You wait till you become a big girl."
Right.
I like that.
And I always say, when you are old enough to make that decision for yourself, then you can think about it and think about whether or not you want to do that.
Almost like getting a little boy's ears pierced.
Yes.
I would never. I'll let you make that decision on your own. But with girls, that's necessary. You got to do it. Why would you?
Culturally. At a young age, everybody's getting there.
Use the right verbiage. Because like I have my ears pierced,
but she never.
But I don't wear earrings.
She barely wear any jewelry.
Right.
Yeah, that was the whole.
So I think that's a culture thing.
If I would have been given a choice to get whether or not to have my ears pierced, I would have chose not to have my ears pierced.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I got my mom.
Like locks.
Yeah.
My niece just recently locked her hair up, and she's 7. But my sister let her make that decision.
Yeah.
Before she sees my sister and my mom walking around with locks, so she, wanted to be like, and I'm in Atlanta, like, girl, you better not let her. But obviously she chose. She made that decision.
Right.
Yep.
There was a lady that was at my nanny can, and her little boy hair was long, and she gave him the choice of whether or not he wanted to cut it when he wanted to cut it, and he would say, "I want to cut it," and he would get to the barbershop and then change his mind, and she would leave.
Yeah.
And she said she did it for a while, and then finally he said, "I am ready." And when he was ready, she took him to the salon, to the barbershop. He sat there and he actually got his hair cut, but she wasn't forcing him to get his hair cut because people, like, he had some long hair that people thought it was a little girl.
Dylan, that one little
No, Chase or Cash, which one of them,
because he had brushed his hair. I'm not a girl.
Some women do
make sure you knew he wasn't a girl.
Some women do push their insecurities off on their sons because you grew up bald headed. Now you want to keep your son hair and have it all long and flourishing and stuff. He's a boy. No, I'm just kidding.
Not because you grew up bald headed.
You know what I mean?
That goes back to culture too.
Yeah.
You gotta see our culture. When I was young, always get your hair, boys' hair get cut when they turn 1 year old, and all of that stuff.
My baby 3 and still ain't never got his hair cut.
Yeah.
He gonna walk around with that little
I cut my mom hair with that 5C hair at 10 months old.
How old was DJ when he got his first haircut?
10 months old.
No, she said DJ.
Oh, DJ, not CJ. Oh, really?
I think he was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
He got it when he started elementary school.
Yeah.
Because remember he had locks at one point.
Yeah, I remember.
In some cultures, when the baby's born, even if it's a girl, they shave their heads because they say the hair comes from the mother and not actually from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know that.
See, it's amazing, and it's so, and we don't have to set out to go, okay, I'm going to teach them about this culture this week, this culture the next week.
They gonna know everything.
We're not leaving anything out.
Yeah.
But it's good to make comparison because you find out a lot of things you don't even know.
But conversations will come up just casually as you're talking about where you live, as you're talking about your families, as you're talking about the holidays that you celebrate. Things are going to come up, and don't be afraid to have an age-appropriate conversation, but then also let the parents know. We were having a conversation today, and this came up, and this is how we addressed it. Especially if it could be considered, if it's a tattoo conversation, and those parents may not be ready to talk about tattoos with their children. But then you can say, this is how the conversation started, and this is what we talked about. So we wanted to let you know, so if they go home and they start talking about tattoos or drawing, and then you'll know why this came about.
I have one more thing. I took my kids around my grandmother on my dad's side, and they're Thai. No black in them. They live way different. So my grandmother cooked dinner, and we're trying to sit at the table and eat.
Yeah.
You don't sit at no table. You gotta sit on the floor, cross your legs, and sit like this.
Right.
What we call it Indian style. You have to sit like that. You can't put your elbows on the table. You really don't talk while you eat. It's a whole. And then they have a praying room. And my kids, well, it was Destiny and DJ at the time. The other two weren't born. They're like, why we gotta sit on the floor? Why we? And I had to explain everything to them.
Yeah.
They didn't understand.
But now they know that's a part of their culture.
Now they know.
They know.
Yeah.
That's what my grandma do.
And we were talking, because we've been doing culture in our learning spaces, and we were talking about gift giving and how some people politely refuse a gift, and I was telling them in some cultures, mostly Arabic cultures, it is it's a disrespect for them for you not to accept their gifts because they feel like you're blocking their blessing when they're trying to be a blessing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even like the people in the gas station.
Yep.
Ooh, that sounds so ignorant.
It did it.
Their smell, the stronger their smell is, the more respect you get. So we walking in, we like, whew. But the stronger their smell is, the more respect they get. And I learned that from one of my teachers.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
So they don't wear deodorant.
I would never get no respect.
Another cultural
They
thing.
get more respect. So the stronger your smell is, the more respect you get.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I was like, whoa.
Disrespect all over.
You so disrespectful.
So the thing about it is don't shy away from those kinds of conversations, but also communicate with the families that you had that conversation.
Be aware.
Yes, absolutely, because we don't have to initiate anything. It'll come up in casual conversation. And just think about those teachable moments and utilize and take advantage of those teachable moments. Okay, any questions about how do you see those, what we've talked about today, how does that help you with your activity planning? How does it help you?
It kind of helps when you're doing the activity, what age group to put it in and what's developmentally appropriate for the different age groups.
Okay.
And why you're doing it and what you're trying to get
the goal
them to
you're
learn.
trying to reach.
The
That's what I was
goal,
thinking.
Perfect. So, because that's how you plan great learning experiences, high quality learning experiences, is when you take all of this information, put it in a big old pot, and then go, oh, I think this activity I need to add some more carrots into this, some more, you're making this whole big pot of soup. And so now we've talked about doing the lesson plan. We've talked about what the skill levels look like as far as emerging, developing, and mastered. We've talked about the different domains and what the learning looks like across those domains and how that helps you with your activities. So now we're going to talk about assessing young children. So how do we assess them? So when you think about why is assessing young children important? Does it even matter? Do we even have to do it?
I feel like you do.
Yes, why?
Because it lets you know the different levels that the kids learn on, the way you can teach them and everything.
So exactly what you said. This is the documentation for emerging, developing, master. This is your documentation for knowing all of that. And for being able to, this gives you the documentation so you know how to plan the activities for each child individually. But you're planning one activity that can be either scaffolded down or scaffolded up based on where they are. So the assessment gives you the why, outside of the theoretical why. This gives you the in-classroom behavioral, okay, this child is on this level, this child is on this level, this child is on this level. And this is how I know this. So you've got the documentation just for why they're on that level and how you know that. Okay, so what do you see in this picture?
A lot of stuff.
I can't see
And this picture has been used for many, 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 many years.
Abstract.
When I taught CDA for Quality Care for Children years ago, this was just such a wonderful picture that it always brings out a lot of creativity when people are looking at it. So when you look at that picture, what do you see?
Eyes.
Eyes, okay.
I don't really see much.
Okay.
See it is eyes.
Colors.
It might be people dancing.
Maybe people dancing.
Abstract art.
Abstract art.
What'd you say? Chaos.
A little bit of a little, yeah.
Just kind of all over the place. I got it.
Sometimes people see a train track.
Really?
Let me show you.
Wow.
Train track.
And the train.
Oh, I can't see that. Wow. I can see the eyes look like.
Eyes. Sometimes people tell me that there's people on this part.
I see a chicken. I see a chicken. Is it a chicken on there?
Well, I think if there's a chicken, if you wanted to be a chicken, you think the chicken's on there?
Yeah, I thought that was a chicken.
And it looked like it's
And
a
it's a
present right there.
dragon. It's a dragon in the middle right there.
Yes. So,
Now you're bringing it into form, though.
but see, if
We
you
seem
think,
like we're looking deep past the picture.
well, and you have to look past the picture, but everybody's perspective is different.
Different, yeah.
Everybody is seeing something different. So when you guys are assessing young children and you're working together, you're all going to see something different. So it's being able to come together and put the picture together.
Okay.
And so there's different ways that we can do that, and we're going to talk about how we do that using different types of assessment. Different ways to assess young children gives you a bigger picture, and it brings the picture into focus. I like how Kenya said that. The more you talk, the more you saw. So it brings, when you there's no one way, there's multiple ways to get a big, true picture. So you guys are going to, as we talk through that, it'll brings the picture into focus. And so we talked about why assessment is important, but is observation and assessment the same?
No.
Observation and assessment, no, they're different.
Tell me what they are.
Observation is more of you sitting back, watching, maybe thinking of a master plan.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Assessing is, you're actually assessing them and
you're measuring.
Right.
And it's the documentation part.
Documentation.
Yep.
That's the word I was looking for.
Absolutely. So, why do we assess young children? We've agreed that it's important. So, and we know that observation and assessment are different. So, why do we assess? What does it do for us when we do these assessments on young children? You guys gave me the big picture of it when we first asked why it was important.
It kind of, to me, when you say assessment, it kind of it's like a one-on-one of each child, like
Kinda, but you don't have to do it just one-on-one like
yeah,
that.
I guess that's the only way I know how to put it.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You could sit back and observe and assess
Yeah.
the whole class.
So when we're doing assessments, we're doing it because we want to monitor the children's development.
Okay.
We want to see
That's
where
what
they
I'm
are.
going for, yeah.
we want to see where they are. And it also, just like that big picture we said early first, is that it guides your planning and your instruction and your decision making of what you're going to do in the classroom. And it helps you identify children who might benefit from special services, maybe.
I guess that's where I was coming from with the one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also helps you to communicate with parents, other caregivers, and future teachers. Anyone that's in relation to that child, or it helps you to be able to communicate.
When Christian was 5, he started school. Just couldn't get him to sit down. They couldn't get him to do nothing they wanted him to do, and I'm punishing him and spankings, and none of it's working, and I'm tired of spanking my child. So then they were just like, okay, we gonna do an assessment. Cool. So they had me fill out all these papers of what he does when he's at home versus what he does when he's at school.
Yeah.
And also outside of their assessment, he kind of assessed his own self at such a young age. And would just tell me one day he came home and was like, I can't sit down and focus in the classroom when I'm there.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up finding out about his ADHD. But as he got older, he was able to maintain it and kind of, I guess, grow out of it as he got older.
My son DJ was diagnosed. They tried to diagnose him with bipolar disorder.
Oh, wow.
At 3 years old. I said, what?
No way.
But that was because I did the same paperwork you did, and they based it off that paperwork that I filled out. Bipolar disorder runs on his dad's side. So they were basing it off of that, but you only sat with my child for 30 minutes. How can you determine that?
No.
But had I listened to him, DJ would have been on medication and everything.
I'm so glad you did.
When he was 3, he was just having a rough patch.
Yeah.
He couldn't focus. He couldn't sit down. He grew out of it.
Yeah.
He's great.
Because Christian did, he took Concerta for a little while till he hit 8th grade, I think, and then he told me himself, Ma, I don't like how that make me feel. So that's when we took it away. And it's a good thing because if they stay on it, when they graduate, it'll follow them for the rest of their lives. And I didn't know that.
Yep, and that was my biggest concern. I'm calling my mom in Texas. I can't let this follow him. They trying to tell me it's sealed and I could go to get a disability. I don't want
that, man. I ain't want that, man. I'm not gonna label my child.
No. Absolutely not.
There you go.
So in thinking about why assessment is important and all the planning that we do, are you preparing your children for success? What type of foundation are you building for each child's future?
Smooth, straight, or bumpy? Wow.
Is it old? Is it new? Vintage? Vintage.
Observation, yeah, that's what she said.
And that's what we want to think about. We want to think about how are we preparing our babies? What are we
You
doing?
got so many pet kids now that's being raised by their grandparents or sometimes their great grandparents. So like you said, that's what I thought about when you said vintage. I'm like, yeah, you got some kids that's being still raised in a whole 70s mentality.
Right.
I'm thinking.
Yes.
That's true.
And it's a different era. And you know, that's one of my issues I have with public school anyway. That we don't prepare our teachers for this generation of children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nope.
And it's important to have this type of foundational knowledge and understanding of the children that we're working with today.
Yep. Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah, because something that you might have done a year ago, the new kids are like, girl, we passed that.
Yeah.
Give us something a little bit more in depth.
Absolutely, yes. And so now when we make we we've talked about how observations, why do we do them? What does it do for us? And as far as helping us with our planning, helping us with understanding if a child may potentially have a delay, where they are. So how do we use them? So once we know what this is, we use them to either individualize the program or to individualize the instruction, which is different, to identify health issues, to understand disruptive behavior, to balance individual and group needs, and build relationships with families. So if it's individualizing the program, well, it may be that we change the schedule up a little bit. Maybe that we change up certain activities. It may be that we change up when we do those activities. It may mean that we rearrange the classroom just a little bit differently based on. It may be, and to individualize the instruction is that just like that one-on-one that Kenya said, we may have to do something a little bit different with little Tommy than we do with little Susie to teach the same skill.
Right.
And then the health issues is that if they, they may not hear well, they may not see well. And then that goes along with those those potential evaluations for ADHD, autism, processing, oppositional defiant disorder. Like there's a number of things that we see all the time.
Sometimes the kid could just need something simple as a hearing aid.
Yeah.
So this is how to use observations and assessments?
The observations that we're going to do in the assessments, we use that to individualize to do all of these things right here. Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we're making when we're first making observations, and Miss Terry said that the observations help you figure out how to tailor your teaching style to the children. I see colors, dinosaurs, chicken. Oh, the pictures. I see colors, dinosaurs, and chickens. And she said observation is informal and assessment is formal. I try to keep her included when I see her notes.
That's a good way to put it. Informal versus formal.
And so when we're thinking about observations, because we're going to start with observations and then we're going to go into, because it's one form of assessment, and they need to be specific, accurate, and non-judgmental. What is non-judgmental?
Not making like if you already think something of a child, you're going to be looking for it, so you want to not do that. And
with our language too.
Yes.
We want to not use judgmental language. He's just mad because he's mad. Well, he may not be mad because he's mad. He may be mad because little Susie took his block, but we didn't see little Susie take his block.
Right.
Would that be like not putting emotion on it? Like
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so when we're being specific, accurate, and non-judgmental, then we have to make sure that our perceptions are not interfering with our observations. I like to say perception is 9/10 of reality. You know how I guess it always when you were talking about break-ins and stuff like that, it was possession is 9/10 of the law. Well, perception is 9/10 of your reality. And so when we talked about the first picture, everybody saw something different because our perceptions are different. And so we have to make sure that we don't allow our perceptions to influence our observations. And so that's why our observations need to be specific, non-judgmental, and accurate. You only write what you see.
Right.
You're not trying to read anything into it.
I have a hard time with
Really? It can be, especially if we know so much about a child. And I think teachers get frustrated with me sometimes because they'll go, oh, Miss Lisa, they just did it because. I'll go, no, they didn't. And I'll play the video back. I'll say, this is why they did it. And they'll be like, oh, I didn't see that. Okay, well, always ask. Because they'll tell you.
Yeah.
They will.
What part makes it difficult for you, Crystal?
I was just getting ready to ask her.
Yeah.
Because I'm always thinking about things.
Yeah.
I think about, I don't know, when I see it, I have to make it make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So then you like automatically give reason to think. You give reason to think, yeah.
So that it makes
feel
sense
like,
to
yeah.
you. Yeah.
I just always think to state facts. Like Lisa said, just state what you see. They were building with the blocks fell over.
Tommy hit Susie because he thought Susie knocked the blocks over.
Right. Just observation.
Absolutely. So when we think about the difference in our experiences, also lead us to our perceptions. And our preconceived ideas interfere with accurate observations, and our expectations influence our perceptions. How do you think your expectations influence your perceptions?
Is it when you worked on that skill with that child for so long, you expect them to have mastered that skill, and then when they do something that, or like at a certain age, you expect the child to automatically start being potty trained.
And that's so wrong.
Well, that's the expectation.
That's influencing your perception.
Right. Yep.
And the
It
same
makes so
with,
much sense. Yep.
they know right from wrong.
Right.
Oh my
Expectation is that 4-year-old knows right
No,
from
I'm
wrong.
just saying because
Right.
of that all day. Like she know what she doing. There ain't nothing wrong with her. I'm like, yeah, no, like she just got here. She just got here. She just got here. 2.5 years. She don't know.
And that even to me, I hear people say that about children, but that extends to everybody. We've only all been here once. We all still always learning.
Yeah, that's what Sienna told me the other day. Like she was just like, be gentle with yourself because this is your first time doing life.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, I never like.
Even as adults, we be like, people be like, you put expectations on adults too. When it's all our first time being here.
Think about it. This is my first time. This is my first time being a mama. 30, right.
Wow.
I was like, I like that.
That make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So Miss Crystal, give yourself some grace. Absolutely. So, these are the guidelines when we're making our observations. We just want to make sure that we record only the facts. We don't add anything in. That we record every detail without omitting anything. And that we do not interpret as we observe.
Okay.
We do not record anything that we did not see. And we use words that describe but do not judge or interpret. And that we record the facts in order that they occur.
Okay.
And if an incident happens earlier in the day but you didn't write it down, are you going to remember everything as it was at the end?
No.
Right. You're not. So do it at that time. Don't wait because the details will change. And you want it to be factual. So do it right when it happens. Especially incident reports. Right when it happens. Okay. So if you look at that picture, what do you see if you're looking at that non-judgmental, factual, specific?
He's crying. He's upset. He's crying.
I don't know. That's judgmental.
Oh. He has his mouth open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has tears coming out. He's crying.
His eyes are closed.
I think you can say he's crying, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
Right.
No, don't know why.
His face looks a little red.
So I can't say he's mad.
Right.
Right.
And you can't say that he's upset.
Upset. Right.
Factual, non-judgmental is he's crying. Tears streaming down his face, mouth open. Yep, face red.
That's
Eyes
it.
closed.
Okay.
Eyes closed.
I'm glad you just, that helped a lot. Okay.
Okay.
Hands on face.
Yes.
Mouth open.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
His eyes open.
Yeah, his eyes are wide, look a little wide,
Just
right?
look. But not look. Don't go and look.
Right.
Facts.
Uh-huh.
What else would you say?
That's all I would say.
That's it.
Because you can't attach any emotion to it.
No.
Because what we might think is surprise, that could be anger.
Yeah.
That could be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear. Mm-hmm.
Or even excited.
Excited. Yeah. So based on our perception, that's what we would assign to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, I needed that. That's good. That's
Well,
good
see,
stuff.
now I want you to turn to your neighbor.
Oh, goodness.
Turn to your neighbor.
Write objective observations about your neighbor, and then we're going to discuss what you see.
Let me see what I see. Who do I want to do? Quit changing your face.
Terry said shocked. She thought the little
She said
person looked
shocked?
shocked. That's an emotion, Terry.
Right.
So Terry, you can see, hopefully, if we can pan to the group. Then we'll get Terry to do some. If we could flash onto the group, then we can get Terry to make some observations of the group that she sees as she watches us. Can she see the group?
That's it. That's all I see on her.
Me too.
There. So Terry, you can see the group. So you make some observations on what you see in the group, okay? And we have both Terrys should be there. And you guys can text me your answers and I'll share it.
On to the restroom.
Terry says she's observing her kids.
It's not really a lot that
I did one and the same for both of y'all. Because y'all was
Smiling.
Okay, so what objective, specific, non-judgmental observations did you make about your neighbors?
both of my neighbors writing, smiling, and doodling.
Writing, smiling, and doodling. Okay.
That she was smiling. She has on a pink sweatshirt, and then she was eating.
Okay.
On a picture.
And she's eating.
I said they both writing, doodling. They both writing.
And then I said she was smiling and writing.
See, I always go to, I would have said Adria has on a black jacket, a blue t-shirt
I was going
with a
write that,
design
but I
on
didn't know
it.
if I was supposed to go
Hair's
descriptive.
braided, glasses.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And I was
But I
supposed to
think
she
you
got
can
on
say, you
blue
can still
clothes.
say what
Every
you say.
detail
Okay.
Without omitting everything.
So Crystal, what did you all say? What observations did you all make?
I haven't made it yet.
That's okay, honesty is beautiful.
And factual.
What, we supposed to make observations about our neighbors?
Yeah.
Factual, non-judgmental.
Water.
Without being judgmental?
Yep.
My neighbor is typing on the phone.
Yeah, yes. I like it.
Red hat.
Yes, perfect. Glasses.
Oh yeah, glasses. My neighbor has really long hair and glasses. She has glasses as well. With a green hoodie that says Jesus.
All right. I see Crystal looking. Terry is typing. Terry says, daughter counting the holes on my notebooks, playing with motorized bike. Motorized bike wasn't working and started pushing buttons and using her legs to push the bike to make it work.
Okay. Her partner doing stuff.
Great observations. You have some now, Miss Crystal?
The neighbor to my left is a female, has glasses, a blue sweater, long hair, and is sitting at the table. Neighbor to my right, female, brown hair, is wearing a pink sweater and looking at her phone.
Awesome observations. Great. Okay, so we're going to do some assessment scenarios and you're going to answer the questions. So Miss Kathy has just started working at ABC Childcare. She has never worked in childcare. She's very willing to do anything that is required. She uses the activities in the curriculum and completes her lesson plans on time each week. She began working at ABC after their first conference time. So we're thinking about assessment, right? So do you see any assessment procedures or anything that she might have done? And if no, what could she do?
I would say no.
Okay, why?
Because she's just doing what she's told. Like, she's not really, it would be different if they said she went into her classroom and observed the children playing without her, or observed the children playing with the older teacher. And maybe that's something she could do.
Also, I'll say, because it says, not necessarily that she never works in childcare, but she's very willing to do anything that is required. So she's not really assessing anything. And she uses activities in, well, you can use activities in the curriculum and still.
But you guys are on track. She's not observing the children.
She's just doing her job.
She's not taking notes. She's not saving their work. So she could add all of that in, right?
Yeah.
So Miss Joan has been working in childcare for 20 years. She's very creative with the limited curriculum that is available to her. She develops her own themes and activities. In order to assess her children, she relies on anecdotal records and she gathers throughout the day. She's gone to her director and wants to add more to the classroom. What can she add to her assessment process in her classroom? What do you think she can add? Maybe some developmental screening? And we'll talk a little bit about that.
First, what is that? Anecdotal?
Anecdotal notes are the observations that you take.
Oh, okay.
So you know how Miss Lisa was talking about being factual and stating exactly what you see?
That's what she's doing, antidote.
That's what it's called? Okay, because I didn't know how to answer the question.
Anecdotal notes are the observations that you write down.
Okay. So,
and we're going to go through these, and then I'm going to add another piece to you all, and then I'm going to come back. That's okay. Don't overthink it, because I'm going to come back.
Okay.
So, Mr. Kevin is a pre-K 4 teacher at Sunrise Academy. He has a background in special needs. At the beginning of each school year, he screens the children in his class for special needs so that he's aware of any potential problems ahead of time. He tries to record anecdotal observation records when he has time, but sometimes it is difficult to find the time because he is focused on making sure the children are ready for school. What can he do to be more effective with his assessment technique?
Small. Do more. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go.
Maybe do like one-on-one.
Yeah, I was gonna say small group or something.
Smaller group. Because as a teacher, you do have downtime. So.
And so he's doing anecdotal notes and he's screening.
Right. What if he
He trying to get them videos though.
No, screening is like
Ages and stages questionnaires.
Like the
Oh, I'm thinking he's trying to record and show
Yeah.
parents.
I was thinking maybe he could like for his anecdotal records, pick the certain children he's going to observe for that day, versus trying to observe the whole classroom.
Oh, okay.
Miss Terry said work samples. Yeah, he could add work samples.
And then it says at the beginning of each school year he screens the children, so maybe he could do one in the middle of the year and towards the end also.
Yes.
So we're just going off his first observations.
Okay. So Miss Amy is currently the infant teacher at Joyful Voices Child Care Center. She came to Joyful Voices from an accredited program. She is focused on the development of the children. She uses a developmental screening tool to enhance the activities and make sure that her children are on target. Each day during free time, she records various anecdotal records on the infants in her class. She compiles her anecdotal records and uses them when she completes her developmental milestone checklist. She also uses them when she communicates with the parents. Is she using... It says all three components, but we haven't talked about those to you yet. So how is her assessment process, do you think?
She's using all three.
I think she's doing
She's pretty thorough, huh? Okay. So, when you're assessing young children, this is what you want to do. You want to use developmental checklists. That is a checklist form of the milestones that we talked about, right? You can get them anywhere. CDC has them for free, but it just lists out all of those aged milestone indicators by age.
For it too.
Say that again, dear.
They have an app for it.
Yeah, they do. They have an app for it. Yes.
I'm trying to hold the thought. It was something you said about the last one. Oh, the assessments. How often is that anecdotal? Is that every day?
In a classroom setting, it should be certain children. You divide it up. If you've got 15 children, set a different number of children to do every day. So you're not trying to do every child every day, but over the course of the week, you've gotten every child.
Okay, and you do it once. You do it every week, or is it
every week, ongoing? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so when you've
done like that back, so I was wondering.
When you do the developmental checklist, and you can use your developmental checklist when you're sitting there to help you decide which standard and strain you want to use, which GELDS indicators you want to use.
Okay.
And then you want to do a screening. And a screening is like an ages and stages questionnaire that screens for potential delays in young children. And there's quite a few of them actually. The Brigance is very complicated, and the DIAL, D-I-A-L, DIAL series, they also are screening as well, but they're a lot more, they actually require training and kits, whereas Ages and Stages is a questionnaire that was designed for parents. So it is nationally recognized, and it is just for screening. So it has questions for all the different domains, and then the parents answer them. It goes from abstract to concrete. So it gives you an idea of where the parent is as well. So if they can do the concrete without the abstract, you know that something is not okay, because it should be in a progression.
On the last example, I think it said that she used a developmental. I think it said developmental checklist. Would that be GELDS?
That it is a paper version, but very similar, yes.
Okay.
So GELDS gives you a whole detailed framework, whereas the milestone checklist is just like a short checklist.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
And some of the milestone checklists are included into the assessment. So like if programs use creative curriculum and they use teaching strategies, the assessment and the screening are integrated in.
Okay.
And the same for high scope, the screening, and it's all integrated into one tool. Yeah, and it's along the progression.
And I've used both of those.
Yeah.
High scope and creative curriculum.
And me, I am okay there is nothing wrong with doing the ages and stages screening, and a milestone checklist is the same thing. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way either. That's a simpler way to do it. Crystal, what do you guys use? Do you guys use teaching strategies?
Yeah.
I thought so. And so then you also want to so you're going to have a milestone checklist. You're going to have your screening tool, whatever screening tool it is. Ages and stages is easy, so the screening tool. So then a third component would be interviews, questions that you've asked the parents about certain things. What are your parenting? What's your bedtime routine? What's your, so any kind of questions that you've interviewed the parent for, that would be as a note that you would have. Self-portraits for older children, and then that helps you to see how they view themselves. Also, samples of their work, like Terry said, having samples of their work, and then having pictures, or you can do audio or video. And then your anecdotal records. So there's lots of different ways to assess young children. And so if you think about all these different ways to assess young children, and then we go back, right? And those scenarios came from a basics of assessment training that I had, and we just talked about screening. We talked about developmental checklist, and we talked about anecdotal notes. So that was the 3 components that they were talking about in the scenario, but there are many ways to assess them. And so as you're compiling this information, what do you do with it? What do you do with it? Where do you put it? How do you house it? Where does it live?
In portfolio.
Yeah, child's file, portfolio. Exactly right. So each child's going to have a portfolio with all of this information in it. So now, if you think about the types of the ways to assess young children, and we go back, right? Yeah, I'm trying to go back. So now if you think about the ways to assess, and we go back to Miss Kathy. Miss Kathy just uses the activities in her curriculum and completes her lesson plans on time each week. So do you see any assessment procedures taken on with Miss Kathy? No. What can she do?
Start creating a checklist.
Yeah, just start somewhere. Yeah.
So with the anecdotal notes, and you're taking them weekly, the anecdotal is just saying like, Billy got the car, he grabbed it, he's playing with it. Okay, so then you make that observation for that day. Let's say I have 2 kids, so I do 1 kid one day and 1 kid the other day. So I make the observation and I put it in his file. And then when I'm planning, that's when I pull that out to see.
You can.
What exactly, I'm trying to, how does that help the lesson plan?
Because what you're doing is when you have your developmental milestone checklist, and let's say you wanted to you were going to look for social emotional skills that week. So you're going to pick which social emotional skills. So then you're going to plan activities that's going to facilitate that social emotional skill, so you can tell if you see it or you don't. So everything connects in that way.
Okay.
Yes.
But when you do those assessments and observations, do you get stuck in that mode? And what if you did the observation and you basically said like, this child is delayed and that's what you observed, but then 2-3 months later, now they done picked up and you would just go back and redo that?
No. So that your assessment, your screening showed you that there was a potential delay there. You gave them activities, and they were introduced to what apparently in the beginning was a delay, and there was no longer a delay. So the next time that they're screened, because you want to screen them, and with a child that shows a delay, then go 3 more months out and screen that child again. And then when you screen the child again, it showed no delay. So the interventions were effective in helping to build that skill.
So like if you did the cars, and one of the things you wanted him to do to see would he begin to start playing with other children, and if he was constantly playing with the cars, then you would do an activity to where you would say for him to be able to
enter into play.
Okay. So it would be like have another friend invite him to play cards or build a ramp with the cards or something like that. So you're building on what he's already, he has the skill to move the card.
Right.
Or even he might like, how you do the solitary play, then the parallel play, and then the cooperative play. Those are the skills that you would be building on. Just observing them doing a certain thing, and you want them to do something, move them to the next skill or the next,
So when you're learning, when you're observing them, so you do the antidotal every day, every week. The screenings, how often?
I would say do them if you screen a child and they're shown no potential for delays at the beginning of your academic year in August, I wouldn't screen them again.
Okay.
Unless a delay shows later, I wouldn't screen them again.
Okay.
But if
And
you
how
screen
often do you check the checklist? Wait.
that should be ongoing. Every time you plan, you're looking at your skills.
Okay.
You're looking at what that is supposed to look like.
What's the difference between, I might have missed it,
Screening and checklist. So screening is like an ages and stages checklist.
nothing written down?
That is actually a form
You're answering
that you would use that will, based on a score, and when you tally it all up,
Because when I take them to the pediatrician,
Yeah.
they do the screening.
yes. And we're supposed to do that at Leapfrog within the first 45 days of the school year. Because you have to have time to get to know those children. So within
Them
the
pages.
first,
Come here, little Johnny.
the first 30 to 45 days is when the screening should take place.
That would make me feel more of a teacher, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, just go to Miss Tony and say, Miss Tony, I need my ages and stages for my classroom.
And see with like the Dial 3 is like an assessment.
It's a screening tool.
And so what they do with that is when they use it, I know they use it in the Head Start program in Michigan, and then in certain districts, they use it when they enter into kindergarten.
Okay.
And it is the first meeting. They don't do the 45-day because they feel like if the child has mastered that skill, they should be able to perform it for a stranger.
They did that for Dallas. She was having behavior, so they screened her and observed and assessed her the first week of school. First starting kindergarten. She ended up having behavioral issues and they switched her teacher. The teacher was basing her skills and stuff off that first week of kindergarten. This was new to her.
Yeah.
How can you base it off of that? And that was months ago. And you didn't even do the assessment.
Right.
Another teacher did it.
Y'all sound more judgmental.
Yeah.
That was very judgmental.
If you don't get off my phone and call me back after you do a new assessment.
They feel like if your child has because with the Dial 3, they do the language, so they'll have the child repeat what they say. Like I might say scissor, and then they want you to hear scissors. So they're looking for like certain sounds in that, and then
That's exactly what it was.
And then they might have them like jump up and like have an apple, and they have them jump and reach for the apple. So they're looking to see how high they jump, and they might have you throw an apple at a target and stuff like that. And so they're looking, those are the skills that they're looking for, so that they'll know what this child throws over their head or under, and so that they'll know how to do the lesson plans for moving forward.
Right, that makes sense.
So the Dial to me is more for an individualized kind of sort of plan, because you're doing each child individually. It's not in a group setting or anything like that.
Yeah, it was individualized.
So that way you'll know, you can kind of sort of like see where that child is. So you'll know, like sometimes they'll put them with the older twos or the younger twos or something like that.
So that was the problem. Dallas switched classes, and now she got her with the ones that are behind.
Because
so that was
the
her reason
records
in
from the lab.
calling me. She's actually advanced, but her assessment is showing she's delayed.
And I
it wasn't
understand that
true.
completely because I went
But you
through
gotta
that.
think, she's just started elementary school. It's the first week of kindergarten. She got so much going. She gotta learn how to get to the bus.
Right,
She gotta
yeah.
learn how to get on Leapfrog bus
these
after
new
school.
faces, all
She
these
had
new
so
people.
it was overwhelming
Yeah.
for the first week. So I was just
When I was in fourth grade, I
she
was
told me she
kept
didn't know
back.
her ABCs. She know her numbers. In my head, Dallas know all that.
Yeah, but that's her doing it for you. That's if I go in there and ask her alphabet or like the letters, would she be able to do it for me? You don't know that. You're saying that because she does it for you, but doing it for me might.
Oh my God!
Different.
Guess who did the assessment, Miss Lisa?
Who?
Remember Erica, my old student, Erica? Her mom, Miss Pierce.
Oh yeah.
So and even Miss Pierce was like, it was a lot going on. So I don't know.
And our other Miss Terry said, make sure you're putting date and times on your notes.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to get a whole
That's very
understanding.
important, too.
So in the beginning, you do your screening, and then you plan your activities around your anecdotal notes, and then after the beginning, you only screen when necessary if there were any delays.
Yes.
And the checklist. And also when we're doing our anecdotal records, we're focusing on a specific skill, and versus when they're doing their checklist, they're going through a group of skills or a lot of skills.
And your milestone checklist just keeps your skills in front of you.
Right.
So when you're when you're doing your lesson plan, you're like, okay, what skill is it that I have not necessarily seen?
Right.
What skill? And then you may think about it. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know if all my children can jump.
Right.
I don't know if all my children can. So then you're going to plan outdoor activities that support all that. Games.
Okay.
Yeah, and then because everything has to be aligned with GELS, you're going to look for that gross motor strand in GELS for that code.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it is Teaching Strategies Gold where they ask about pedaling. And in certain child care centers or even schools, they don't have the tricycles to learn how to pedal.
No.
So that's good skill the teacher never observes.
Right.
So they can't even say that child can pedal because that's a skill that they don't practice.
And there will be a little bubble that you bubble in that says not observed.
Okay. Oh, just in the A. So how do you do that?
Yeah, you just mark not observed. And that doesn't mean that there's a delay, you just didn't see it.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. You don't know if they can do it or not.
And I like Teaching Strategies Go because it goes from 0 to I think 5.
And
so you can like
screening.
So so your child, if you like, if I had Kalani for 3 years and I like all 3 years, I can it'll grow with her. And so I probably didn't observe it when she was 3 months, but I could have observed it when she turned a year old.
Right.
And it'll show you that you know.
What's it called?
Teaching strategies.
And the same thing can happen with the paper. It's just that teachers have to send the paper up with them.
Right.
So each in a child care setting, so let's say Miss Michaela has a portfolio on every one of her children, and her children are getting ready to go to Miss Crystal's class. Well, then she's going to transfer her portfolio information to Miss Crystal. So that Miss Crystal has what the children have learned with Miss Michaela and what she has seen them to have. And then she'll know how to plan some just overarching things just to check that.
Okay, so it's only one in that particular setting of that school would only teach on teaching strategies.
It should
would
move
only
with them.
do the checklist of teaching strategies. You can't have one doing one kind. Because I see it so many different ones. Y'all keep saying dial and teaching strategies.
So
what program you use.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But in that program, it's going to be one or the other. Okay.
Yes. And for example, at Leap Frog, we do the high scope curriculum.
Right, I know that.
But because we've had a lot of transition in teachers, assessment is probably one of our weaker things right now. And so I've just always stuck to screening tools, milestone checklists, and collecting work samples and doing anecdotal records.
Okay.
It makes it real simple.
Yes, and that's easy enough that a new teacher can pick it up.
Okay.
They don't have to have any formalized training on these online assessments.
Right, okay.
We don't do online assessments.
They just changed teaching strategy. Did they? Yes.
How did they change it, Miss Crystal? She's shaking her head. Is it complicated? Does it seem complicated? Yeah. Yeah.
To go online and look at.
Well, and sometimes complicated is not always better.
No.
You still measure the same outcomes for children using paper.
Yep.
You've got all the same tools. So, if If you're in a program that has nothing, there's tools to create something. So if the program has online assessments, which there's nothing wrong with online assessments, if they have the online assessments, then their responsibility is to train you on how to use those tools.
Right.
Yeah.
And keep it up to date.
It's vintage.
And Teaching Strategies has really changed a lot. They have an online learning platform now, so you can go in and create lesson plans. You can do all kinds of things in this online platform. It's very pricey, but you can create in this online platform.
Because I remember having to put my anecdotal notes on there, and it would put right with the child. And even if it was multiple children, because you put your whole class list on there, if it was like multiple children doing the same thing, you can put the cooperative play. You can put it with both children, so you have one anecdotal note covered 2 children.
Right.
2 children.
Yeah. And so it's
what it looked like.
the more you all practice as teachers, because you can, and knowing that when it's kind of like being strategic with with how you're working. Working smarter, not harder. So you pay attention to your anecdotal notes, and if you got an anecdotal note of a group of children, photocopy that and put it with the other child. You know what I mean? And put it in the same domain. And what I've seen teachers do before is they'll take like a grid, and they will have each domain in a grid, and then they will put their anecdotal notes. If they've got sticky notes for that week, they'll put them on that domain that they were, and then they would take them and put them with the children. But they would have it on a grid so that you're putting them on the domain. So then when you're looking back at your anecdotal notes and you're individualizing them and putting them with that child, at the end of the week, then you can see if little Tony and little Susie are on the same one, and then you're just going to put it for both children. Yeah.
Now, question: with these screening sheets, can you send them home with the child?
Yes.
So the parent can know.
You can, and what you should do. So when you're doing, after you've compiled this portfolio, and you start your portfolio at the beginning of the year. So when your academic year starts, each child in your class should have a, however you want to do it, a manila file folder, a hanging file folder, whatever works, with their name on it, and that's going to have all their work samples in it, their screening tool, their milestone checklist. It's going to have all that in there. And you're going to figure out how you're going to do your anecdotal notes. You're either going to do sticky notes, whatever you're going to do, you'll figure that out, because there's lots of ways to do that. Index cards, doesn't matter. Some people had little notebooks per child, a little notebook, and just would keep that in the file. So it's whatever works. And then I just lost my own out. So when you're putting it in there, then you're going to you should have conferences at least a minimum of twice a year. Fall, late spring. Some places have fall conferences 3 times a year. Crystal, you guys do 3 times a year? Fall, winter, spring? Yes.
Even with 2-year-olds?
Yes, infants, everyone. Yeah, everyone should have conferences 2 times a year. And so
what you gave the parent a whole rundown when they pick them up.
Save it for your conference. So you have their work samples, you have their folders. So let's say you're doing your first conference in November.
Okay.
So then you schedule 15 minutes, you get a sign-up sheet going, schedule 15 minutes per family. They sign up for their time slot. You pull their little folder out, you sit down with them, and you give them how their child has progressed since they've been in your classroom.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yes, and then you take the work samples that you've collected, and you send and a copy of the screening tool and the milestone checklist, because you're going to keep the original in your file because it's going to stay with you.
Right.
Then you give them all that work, and they get to keep it. And then you start collecting work samples for the next conference, which may be April.
So you don't have to send everything home with you.
No.
So how is it work
Save some of it.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to say. Is it certain things or just
whatever supports their growth? So let's say you're in a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old class, and they're learning to write and scissor cutting. Save samples of that so they can see how they've progressed in that skill.
Okay.
And writing, when they first started trying to write their name, before they got to the finished product. Then you've got several work samples showing how. And with building, you can have pictures in there of them building things, playing, jumping rope, whatever. Yeah. And so then you'll have that conversation. You'll have another and then also ask them at the beginning, what are your goals for your child? What do you want your child to learn while they're here in my class? And then you can say, well, this is my expectation.
I'm trained. That's what most
Yeah. This is my expectation. These are the things you can expect to see from us, from me as your child's teacher.
Yeah, I should really do that because I get a lot of, not to toot my own horn, but I get a lot of compliments from my parents about how the kids are coming home, talking more,
singing.
Yeah.
They tell me, they're like, I don't have to guess what she's learning because I hear it and when she's home.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, that's good.
That makes you jump up and down as a teacher inside. It makes you feel so good.
Yeah, and hopefully it just makes you feel inspired. Like, yes, they are learning. They're getting it.
Right, it's working.
Yeah, they're getting it. I'm not crazy.
Right. Especially when your 2-year-olds can sit down for a story.
Right.
I got it, y'all. I got it. My co-teacher can't do it, but I can. My co-teacher be like,
But then you have
girl,
to,
let me see. Come on.
Like, it's funny because, like, the whole, who was that? Larry's dad, where he would sit for us to read for him, but he wouldn't sit for his dad to read for him. But his dad, I'm not gonna say he didn't know how to read a book, but he didn't know how to read a book. He didn't know how to read a book.
I put an animated voice on, so the kids are like,
right, what's going on?
And you know how I get them? All right, class, everybody put on their listening ears. So now they're all like trying to screw their listening ears on. But by that time, I got all their attention.
Yeah.
Miss Terry,
I got the book open.
Miss Terry added, transitions can also be a form of assessment. So you're having the children line up according to the color that they have on to know if they know the color. And that you can also, during small groups, you can use index cards to write your observations on. And that the conferences should be done 2 times a year.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
And so the guidelines, you want to make sure that they're updated weekly for each child. So however that works best for you, and that you need to review and use your portfolios when you're creating your lesson plans. At the bottom of the lesson plan where it says accommodations, that's for those children that need a little special help, extra help.
Yeah.
And you'll know which children those are real quickly. You're not going to have to guess.
No.
Yep. And they should be shared with parents at regular intervals during your conferences, and they should be passed on as each child moves to the next age group. And eventually, one of the school transition pieces for Georgia Pre-K is that their portfolio goes with them to public school, like that their teachers get that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what you said, Adrian, when they're going to
Michigan. I was in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
I had the preschoolers, so my preschoolers went to the pre-K to leapfrog pre-K. And so Tish did get, like when they left me and went to Tish, they did get the Tish did get my portfolios of the children that actually left my classroom into her classroom.
And then just think about the growth that child has been with that program for a while, and then that growth as that portfolio has traveled across ages.
Yeah, it's so tricky because you got some teachers, they don't really care. You know,
Right,
so you don't put together.
That's what I'm figuring out. That's what you're figuring out listening, right?
And it's going to go right in your little supply closet.
Well, it is, and that's where hopefully, as teachers grow and change, that they value portfolios as well.
I set it up from Miss Tony.
You can send an example, because like when I brought the skills and knowledge that I had from being in the Head Start program into Leapfrog, and so like Ms. Roslyn used to tease me because I used to come to school that I knew what I was going to do with my children, and then I had the activities that I I always ask my children, can I keep their work? Because sometimes it's a work, like they drew a picture, and if I wanted to keep it, I would ask if I could keep it because they might want to take it home. Or then I asked them to draw me a picture of whatever it was so that I could keep it. And then I would just stick it in their portfolio. And then like when the parents came for parent-teacher conference, they was like, I didn't know my kid could do this. I didn't know my kid could do that. I didn't know my kid. And so the parents started doing stuff at home with their children that we were doing in school because it made it a homeschool connection then.
So more so you're doing it for the parent and the child, not more so the next teacher.
No, yeah, you're doing it for the parent and the child.
Okay.
Well, and even when you're doing your conferences, it should be a real empowering conversation for the parents, not
nothing
negative. Like, your child can't do this, your child can't do that, your child can't do that. It should be empowering. And there have been instances where teachers have focused on the negative and not focused on the growth. And there was an instance at a program, not a program that I was ever with, but where there were these twins, and they had been very behind and just delayed, in that they had, one of the twins almost passed at birth. And so, but this teacher, not knowing that background, which it wouldn't matter if she knew the background or not, she really wanted to talk about how delayed these babies were. And so, and that parent just really said, you don't even know, you don't even get the opportunity to talk to me because you don't see the growth in these children. Let me tell you where they came from. So we need to always look at the growth and where they're going and where they started and how much they've grown. And so that was it didn't empower that mom at all. It made that mom go into defensive mode, and it would make any mom go that way when we want to focus on, let me tell you what, your child, how much your child has grown. And this is their work, and these are the skills, this is, and then that makes them, it's more of a positive interaction, so that when you're building that relationship, let's say later on you do end up with some type of behavioral situation that you need their help with, they're going to help you because they're going to say, you know what, I know you've never had that problem. I'm so sorry. What can we do?
Because you weren't like, they feel like you don't, because some parents feel like you out to get their kids, especially when you only speak negative of their kids. So when their kid does something and you need their help, they're like,
boy, they'll sell you to the wolves. Some of them parents be
but if you like the sandwich,
compliment sandwich.
So then when it comes time for you to get assistance with the parent from whatever it is that you need, then they're more apt to help, especially if there is a delay. The conversation is easier for you to have with the parent about, what can we do moving forward? And it's like a team effort.
Prime example, my daughter has a counselor. She had been trying to get this class changed, y'all, for about 3 months, and the lady never answered the email. Well, one night, Erin decided, because she got that kind of mouth, she was just like, I've been trying to contact you, and blah, 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 whatever the text message said. So I guess the husband found the phone, and he showed it to her, because she's supposed to, when we got it all out, she told me she had 2 phones. So she decides that she's going to call me, or text me, or wherever she did it, because of what Erin said in this text message. But by now she's frustrated because she's been trying to get you to change this class for her for 3 months. But I told her, you're going to call me now that she sends you an ugly text message you don't like.
But you wasn't
so don't call me now when she needed your help. No, we're not going to do that. So that's what it said. I'll sell you to the wolves and let her talk crazy to you because you wouldn't help her. Till she said something you didn't like.
And I think too, when you're thinking about, always check with the program that you're working with. You always want to make sure that you're following their guidelines. So they may does your program have set conference times, Crystal? So most programs do. So find out when that is. Find out what they want in that portfolio. It may be a little bit different based on the program that you're with. So always ask your leadership those questions first. Never assume anything, always ask. And then ask if they don't mention things or they say, well, you know what, we don't.
Okay.
Then say, well, do you mind if I use a screening tool? Do you mind if I use a milestone checklist? Do you mind if I take anecdotal notes? Ask them those questions. And then they'll think you're just like the best. Oh, wow. No. Yes. Go right ahead.
Parents love stuff like that.
Yeah, and then the leadership will love that initiative as well. It's the initiative part.
Can you get the other
I'm
teachers to
telling you,
get
and they notes and work samples
Right, and then all
are
the
so
other
wonderful.
teachers
when they
looking
go
at you
lesson
like,
plan.
What are?
Anecdotal notes and work samples, because if they don't cut, like, cutting is snipping. When you're working on those fine motor skills, cutting, the first thing is they rip and then they snip and then they cut. So then having those samples of them ripping the paper or them even snipping the paper and then being able to cut a straight line and then stop and then cutting the zigzag line and then cutting the curve line. Having all those samples, because you can have them from the first day they get in your class till when they get ready to leave, and you can see the progression. And then you'll know what
So
to do.
for 2-year-olds, would you guys do pictures? Would y'all include pictures in that portfolio?
Like the pictures that they color?
No,
Like if they drew pictures?
actual pictures of
them doing
working or
Yes.
would y'all include that in there? Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm just I'm thinking everything would have to be like
I just like when
their
you take
activities or something, but it can be pictures, the activities they did,
like
different stuff.
like you could take a picture, say they're in the house area and they're playing together, they have the food out and you don't have to have the conversation, but just taking a snip picture of that, and then if you heard the conversation, you can say, in this picture they were doing blah, 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 blah.
At this time, what Ms. Terry said, put the time and date on there.
So I want to make sure you all understand what a milestone checklist looks like.
Yes.
So this is from the CDC, and there are some that are a bit more detailed. Let's see. Let me see what the printed PDF looks like. So this is what the PDF looks like from the CDC. Now most child care centers use one that's a bit more detailed, but you can see that it's boxes. With social emotional milestones, language milestones, cognitive milestones, and physical milestones.
Okay.
And we'll just check those boxes of the things that you see.
Cool.
And then if you don't see those, then you'll know that's a milestone that baby should be progressing in for that age group. And this is just 2 months now.
And I like the wording, it says, well, most babies, and not all
that
babies.
bell curve. Yeah, what most babies. And then it says things to share with your doctor.
Oh, okay.
And there's other things in there too. How you can support those.
Okay.
And let's see if I had another.
That's just how my kids' pediatrician screenings are. And at the end, they ask you, do you have any concerns? I used to be like, yes, behavior. I don't even think they look at them because she would come right in.
Yeah, I don't think they
not even address anything.
Yeah, that I just wrote down. Yeah.
So these from Pathways are a lot more. You're going to see these are a bit more detailed than.
Somebody having a loud conversation.
They're excited. Let's see. So you see, this is what this one looks like. Let me see. See, this is a bit more detailed. This is 0 to 3 months, and this is from an organization called Pathways. And it's a yes or a no. Do you see it or do you not see it?
On there, tell me what
Do you tally up all the points at the end?
You won't tally up points. That's only if you're screening. These are this is a milestone checklist.
Okay.
So this is actually the behavior, the developmental skills that they should be, where they should be. They even give feeding on here. And then 4 to 6 months. They even have a verbal
We're looking at the check.
checklist on this one as well. I think it's one of the, with their language skills. Sensory, communication, feeding.
Oh, wow, and they do it like for every couple of months, that's it.
They break down like by like every 3 months until they're 1. And then I think it's, I don't know if it still breaks down like that was 13. This one is 13 to 15 months. 18 months.
18, okay. It got a little wider.
So you see, that's a little bit different than the CDC's version. So there are some that are a bit more, have more skills listed as well. And this one actually has, let's see, they have an ability checklist, and that's where you'll see more of, I want to say, the physical, play and social skills, coordination, daily activities, self-expression. So quite a bit of different things. And so I wanted you all to see that that is what a milestone checklist would actually look like. And the ages, I have the ages and stages, screening tools, but I want to, the questionnaires. I want to see if I can. They actually even have a socially emotional one as well. So that you can, I was hoping they would give us a sample. Oh, they have one that says ASQ3 in autism. That's new. That's good to know. I was wanting to find one, a sample one.
You say what? And then you discreet some of them kids. Yeah.
Let's see what they have in their resource library. They also have an app as well. Okay, here's a sample. Good. I want you all to be. This is the social emotional from 24 months. It's in Vietnamese. I want you to see the format. See how it is formed with the name, parents' information, and then there's the questions.
That I didn't finish.
I think Kalia has a sample of a question. Doing one on Kalani.
Great.
I didn't finish it though.
And then it's questions, and then at the very end is where you tally it up, and it will give you, especially on the regular ages and stages, non-socially emotional. Let's see.
I thought you turned the heat on.
Like
I
this.
did.
Like this one?
Yes, like that. Where on the grid at the back, that shows you.
Like you got all the cutoff, the total score. I don't know why I couldn't finish this. I just didn't. I couldn't get the app.
Couldn't finish it? Because we talked about why you couldn't finish it. Because some of the questions you didn't understand what they were looking for.
Yeah. I was like, man. This in this bag.
I just wanted it in English. Well, it's free in Vietnamese, just so you know. It's free in Vietnamese. So, but I wanted you all to be able to see what the ASQ actually looked like.
Ages and stages, 42 months.
Yes. And that questionnaire was designed for parents so that, and then providers can use it as well. So what questions do you still have about assessment in conferences? And how to assess? Do you still have, what still, were there anything that wasn't answered for you all today? As far as assessment and
You done with this?
topics or anything that you all can think of?
Ms. Lisa, I have a question about, is there any data study about how good like a child started or child care learning center, like what the earliest age they should start out of its benefit?
You know, I don't know if they've done any research on that because it varies culturally.
Got it.
But I know that the Perry Preschool Project, it was one of the first research studies that was done to support quality learning experiences, and it tracked children from, the High Scope Foundation did that, tracked children from birth in a Head Start program all the way up into adulthood. And they had that group and then a control group, and the control group was not in early Head Start with High Scope as their high quality experiences. And the children that had high quality experiences had greater academic achievement and across their life and had a more enjoyable life than the control group that did not have the same experiences. Let's see if there's any research on the best age to start. I'm going to go to Google Scholar for that.
Excuse me. Is that a total care band?
Yes.
Research supporting.
How much is your band cover?
I actually have, I have the
best
backpack and the
age
bag,
to start.
and I have the extra large. And I think I got it for $108
Preschool?
for both.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Let's see.
You don't know Miss Tish, but you should.
Well, there you go.
Because they haven't.
Just go to Google Scholar. So there's one that was done in 2024. Start earlier, stay healthier.
I don't know, but the red one.
An earlier start to public preschool may improve detection of health problems. There's some from 2016. There's some from Europe. So just go to Google Scholar and put it in Google Scholar and it'll all pull it up for you.
Miss Lola got one too.
A lot of it seems to be from 2016. 2016 and 2024 seem to be the most recent. There's one from 2002, 2008, several from 2016, 1994. Probably the research is probably still valid. Here's one from 2020. Is earlier better? The relationship between age when starting early intervention and outcomes. Universal preschool, that's 2023. The role of school starting age as a moderating factor. So there seems to be 10 pages of these. So. Yeah.
Yeah, because my friend just got a baby, and she asked me what's the best age to start the preschool. I said, I don't know. Yeah, the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Give the answer.
Yeah, the earlier the better. So you'll have to pick one of these studies and see which one. And maybe share it with your friend.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Is there any other questions? Are you guys feeling comfortable with the topic of assessment and how to use it and what is involved in assessment?
Yes, I can't wait to use it.
Good.
I can't wait.
She gonna have a whole building to check.
What about the active learning? How comfortable are you with active learning and the different, we just talked about physical and cognitive today, but how comfortable are you with active learning and what that means and how to plan activities that are active and
I gotta get a better understanding. I gotta get a better understanding. I'm not really spot on with activities. That's like my weakness. So
I don't think so. What makes you think it's your weakness?
I cannot come up with activities.
Well, and you know what? That's not a weakness. Go to the JELDS toolkit. Just know where to find them. You don't have to create them yourself. Just know where to find them.
Because if you look on the back of the
It's the activities.
the cards are on there, and then like even if you have the, because we have the resource guide in our computer. it'll break everything down for you too.
And there's a lesson planning website based on GELDS that is called, it was called Peach, I think it still is.
I think it's
PEACH. And then it'll also help you with creating lesson plans.
And they also have where you can you can look at somebody else's lesson plan because people upload their lesson plans and you can get some of their ideas. Like you can type, you can click, you want to do your domain is language and literacy, and then you can click your age group and then what you want to do, or even you can type in whatever activity is and it'll tell you where it goes.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm got to get out of Google Scholar first.
Fall activities.
I want to add, I'm just not really like I can't really imagine or well, when I think about like taking anecdotal notes, and then you're saying some teachers have notebooks, some teachers have different things to take their notes of their kids. I'm like, how is that? At first I was thinking, how is that even doable? Do you legit, oh look, he's doing that, that,
that's what you do.
Sticky note, write the date, and then write exactly what you see.
And the time.
Are you doing that the whole day, or are you only doing it okay, they're doing
You're going to plan which children you're going to do that with.
The whole day?
So you are only going to do 3 children that day. So let's say you do Tommy, Susie, and Becky. So you're going to think about what let's say you want to do some social emotional strand.
Okay, I'm focusing on one, and
focus on one domain.
I'm only focused on one domain. Okay.
And then you're going to just watch for
that
Tommy, Susie, and Becky with that in that domain.
Okay.
For that skill that you're looking for.
The whole day?
Yeah, the whole day. You only choose a certain number of children a day. Even if you just choose, when you're first learning, do 1 child a day.
Okay.
Or 2 children a day.
Yeah. And then they'll get easier.
And plan the skills you're going to look for.
Okay.
Because you're not just randomly looking for skills.
Right.
Unless you just see something great.
Right.
And then you're going to make a note of it, and then you're going to put it in. If you see something that's going to fall under something else.
Okay.
But that's so I went and I found the lesson plan samples from Georgia Peach, and it's on the GELDS website. And let's see. Let me see if it's under resources. Oh, log into our portal. So you create a free account. Mine's already in here because I created one. I don't know that login is the same, but let's see. So that pulled up everything about Lisa right there. And so I could go in and I could go into recent lesson plans. I haven't created any, so there's none there. So lesson plans, activities. So if you go here, see, it'll give you can create what you want. You can create your theme, you can have a date, and your age group. You see that? And this is under GELDS, and it's under resources, and it's under log into portal, and it'll take you straight to the Peach lesson plan assistance.
Okay.
So that'll give you another way to find activities, Miss Michaela.
Okay.
It's with the through GELDS, and it's
Peach, like the fruit?
PEACH. It's under the GELDS website, and go to resources, and it'll say log into portal. And it's a free account, and it'll pull you up because it's got all my stuff here. I have a dashboard apparently.
Oh, okay.
Got a dashboard.
I don't even remember.
But you see, I last logged in to December 21st today. But it'll keep a profile for you.
Yeah.
And you can go there and you can get to the GELD standards and indicators, developmental milestones. Let's see what they have here for this.
So can you just give me the definition of active learning again?
That is where the children are actively engaged. So they are building with things hands-on.
Okay.
Yep, very much.
Okay,
And so let's see what this has to say for me. Okay, I'm going to select 3 years. And let's see, I think this aligns with I was hoping that I could, it tells you milestones for them. I was hoping that I could get a printable version. But so they have lots of resources on that website to help. So what other questions is it that, does anyone else have any other questions?
I didn't.
Let me make sure Terry doesn't have any questions, okay. And if anyone needs anything, of course, let me know. And we do not have class again until after the first of the year in January.
Is that gonna be on Zoom or in person?
You know what, let's
Do you
find.
know the exact date? Dallas' birthday is January 12th.
Let's look and see.
And Destiny's first game is January 11th. She's a cheerleader, you guys.
Yay.
For the Oakley Tigers. She made the cheer team, Miss Lisa.
I'm excited for her. OCBA, we're right already. Let's see. Go, no, go.
I gotta go. I'm gonna find my books.
Fall of 2024. I'm not trying to think. This is us? Yes. All right. So our next class is January the 8th, and it's a Wednesday night in person. It's virtual.
Oh, that's perfect. I thought you was gonna say Saturday.
And we do have one on the 11th. But just try to stream us.
Okay.
That's in class.
And participate, yeah. The 15th and the 25th, and then we have class. We're almost finished, guys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more classes, and we're done.
But do you think next year we'll start working on our portfolios?
We actually started today.
Huh?
We started this morning.
We did with our activities.
So be prepared. That's why it's important to come on time to our Saturdays.
I didn't know that.
So we'll plan on the 21st. Let's see, on the 25th of
So
January.
y'all all got y'all binders?
Some of them do, yes.
I bought one.
But we can do a one-on-one portfolio.
Yeah, I want one.
We can do one-on-one.
I know that.
We all scheduled
Yes.
Well, this is kind of like a one-on-one.
Yeah, it's really
Miss Adrienne.
Yeah.
intimate.
So if there are no more questions, then you all are free to go. Thank you for your participation today. Thank you, Terry and Terry, for participating online with us today. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your weekend.
The 5th. Is that what that say?
Yeah,
And the 15th. After that.
yeah.
It's the 8th, 11th.
Have a good one.
I'm at the bottom.
8, 11,
The 15th.
Bye, guys.
and then February 5th and February 15th, yeah.
So in person. Zoom class. Zoom, I'm assuming.
Yeah, where the 15th of January is virtual, the 25th is in person, the 5th of February is virtual, and the 15th of February is
In person.
Terry says for us as well to have a great weekend.
Virtual.
every other one.
I want to make sure I wrote it right.
Want to get the glasses on?
Yep. Them little reading glasses don't cut it. They must well leave them things at the maker.